Hi, today we're in the great town of Glen Rio, Texas, and New Mexico on Route 66. Well, this here is our 4-lane Route 66, Glen Rio, Texas right now. I'm going to show you our beautiful Texaco gas station, built in 1950 by Joe Brownlee. He also owned this diner right here we'll take a look at too. Anyways, a classic, streamlined, modern design. Got the accents above the bay doors and the offices. This guy here. And we got this beautiful vertical panels on top there of the canopy. This guy here is called the Little Juarez Diner. So Joseph Brownlee, he owned this diner too, opened in 1952. Called the Little Juarez Diner, but officially it's called the Brownlee Diner. It's a box-shaped, curved building. See, beautiful little curving eave or frontage there. And this diner here is the inspiration of the Racing Museum from Disney Pixar's Cars 2006. Here we have the State Line Cafe, gas station, motel. This building here is really kind of two buildings. Built by Homer Erishman in 1953. So concrete blocks. Used to have a gable shingle roof. And on the right was a flat roof building here. And that was the cafe diner. On top of the diner used to have a sign that said Texas Longhorn Motel. And later on it had a giant Texas Longhorn steer on top. And the gas station is on the left. The bay garage you can see up there. That's our bay garage with all the graffiti on it. Right there. Looks like a red Harlequin diamond logo there. That's typical of our 1950s Phillips service station. The sign here on the post, Motel, last stop in Texas on one side. All right. And on the other side is the first stop in Texas. So in the back here, this guy's a Longhorn Motel. You know, he's behind the cafe. He was built in 1955. He closed in 1976. He's got this big U-shape, 13 units, connecting buildings. This is called our Last Chance Motel. When you take a look at Route 66, it looks a little different on either side of the state line. Good time to look at this guy here. So this is 1926. Originally it was a 2-lane road. Now to the east here, that way, that's called Deaf County, Texas. And that was a dry state, so if you wanted to get alcohol, you had to go on the New Mexico side. But on the New Mexico side out here, they charge a lot of taxes for gas. So if you wanted gasoline, you go to the Texas side. That's pretty neat. You'll notice too that New Mexico has this divider between the roads when they expanded it to 4 lanes. In Texas, they don't. And across the street, right here, this used to be the Glen Rio Information Center. It's all abandoned. Had to be torn down when they expanded the road. Anyway, it dates back to 1930. Small, kind of white adobe building, tall flagpole waving the Lone Star flag of Texas. And the banner was also flung right over the highway. This open lot here, just to the left of our New Mexico marker. First building you find in New Mexico, called the State Line Motel. Built in 1930, owned by John Wesley Ferguson. He also owned the State Line Bar and Boyle's Mobile Station. Next door is Adobe style 8-unit motel. Full garages, concrete foundations, a stucco. Smoke shop here. It's new, they had to tear down all these buildings here. Make our smoke shop. People complain, but they made it very Route 66-y. Art moderne, streamlined corners, but it used to be the home of Royal's Mobile gas station. Built in 1925 by John Ferguson, later sold to John Boyles, who ran it as a mobile station. Had a shingled hip roof, extended forward, and the canopy above the pump islands. I believe this was the site of the T&N Cafe. One-story elongated brick building facing Route 66 right here on this vacant lot. This was Ferguson's mobile gas station. It's a stark box-shaped building, concrete blocks, frame, adobe structure, and it housed the post office right here. Nice little 2 windows and a front door, and see, it says Glen Rio right there. And inside is looks kind of dangerous. I don't want any of that stuff falling on my head. Anyway, back here behind the post office, this is the oldest building, Glen Rio, built in 1910. It's called the Angel House. Little gabled wood shake roof, 2 doors, or 1 door, 2 windows. Yeah, it's all adobe looking. Now, coming from Glen Rio down here, headed westbound, you hit this little fork in the road. And what's going on? The 1926 Route 66 heads out this way on this gravelly dirt road. 1952 alignment turns to the right here. So 1952 alignment went straight ahead and crossed over I-40. So they closed this road. And the bridge right up here is over Arroyo Trujillo, San Juan Creek. It's about 500 feet long, 12-span steel stringer bridge. And that was abandoned in 1973 when Interstate 40 opened. We're going to head down the 1926 road to the town of Endee. Early 1900s, the Chicago Rock Island Gulf Railway came through. They set up a small wooden depot to serve all the ranches and cattle farmers out here. This is our beautiful 1926 road. Once paved, no longer paved anymore because the county can't afford to keep it up. Anyway, so if it rains a lot, it gets real muddy down here, and sometimes the wash gets flooded, so the bridge is out of service. We have a couple of abutments up here for another bridge you can come across. So this is one of our timber bridges you find up and down this fantastic road. Wow, this guy is just absolutely gorgeous. It's called a timber bridge, timber stringer. It's got an asphalt deck, but no longer anymore. This is all that's left of Endee, New Mexico. People call this the modern restrooms. This whole area here with the foundations coming up here, little adobe rock guys there. That was once a grocery store called Endee Grocery, owned by Wellington Johnson. Here you can find general merchandise, tires, tubes, auto accessories. Had a 4-sided arch canopy over the store entrance, and a gas pump island right in front. Way back there, that was a motel, abandoned right now. It's got 3 units and a built-in garage. You can park your car. Hey, today we're on Route 66 in New Mexico. We just left the town of Endee, headed west on Route 66 to the ghost town of Bard. And nothing is really here. You can see 4,090 feet elevation, population 0. It's a true ghost town from Glen Rio to Tucumcari. Listed in the National Register of Historic Places. This is our 1926 Route 66 right here. Ruins here, right there, but I'm not sure really what they were for. If you take the North Frontage Road on the other side of Interstate 40, that's our Route 66, 1952. There's an abandoned building out there. Well, that was the Bard Trading Post and Chevron Station. And at one time, it's a completely stone-washed white building. The canopy up front was a drive-through. The gas pump island underneath. And on the pole was an old Chevron gasoline sign with his signature wing. And on top of the canopy, read a sign called Post Office, Trading Post, Souvenirs, Supplies, Ice Cream, Groceries, and Meats. And that's our little town of Bard, so there's absolutely nothing left anymore. So Route 66, 1926, and a couple miles up here is San Jon. Hi, it's another great day on Route 66. I'm in the town of San Jon, New Mexico. Beautiful September day. This is our Route 66 right here, known as Main Avenue. So in 1926, this was a dirt road all the way from Glen Rio. In the early 1930s, the federal government began improving all the roads and the bridges and paving, straightening out Route 66. By the end of 1937, the entire stretch here was paved. In 1946, this town had 250 people, gas, garages, 2-quart motels, cafes, small hotel, and some stores. This guy here is our first stop. He's called the Circle M Motel. He's probably built around 1945, owned and operated by Mr. and Mrs. Hoytfeller. L-shaped layout, 1-story gabled roof. Except the wings of the motel were a little higher than the central units. Now it's kind of like a big salvage yard. Right here, got these large vertical yellow block letters. Says motel right up front. Here we have our second motel, the San Jon Motel. It's also owned by Mr. and Mrs. Hoytfeller, and it looks a lot like the Circle M we just looked at. Built in 1946. It's got this L-shaped layout, single story, single gabled roof. Extends over the walkway between the rooms. And this classic neon sign here. Yellow boxes with the black letters spelling out motel. The sign lights up today to welcome you to this beautiful location. Got a cinder block building, oblong box style. Used to have a stucco finish on it. Here we have the office on the left. 2 windows on each side. One's all busted out there. It's got that aluminum panel on the front. We got 2 single bay garages on the right. Here we have an old abandoned pump. It looks like a Talkheim 39 short model gas pump. It's typical of 1938 to 1958. The outer body's missing here. Look at the little hole right there. See the top of the pump and the numbers that spin around. Used to have a glass globe on it too, as well. Anyway, over here, this is the Key County Co-op building. It says Beads and Seeds. How about that? It's got all sorts of farm equipment supplies. Established in 1947, it's authorized to handle everything from gasoline, other fuels, motor oil, grease, tires, batteries, lots of automobile accessories. Wooden shoe here. This is the world's largest flip-flop. The San Jon Yacht Club little antique store. This whole area used to be a Texaco station. It's all torn down. It's a Type C version. Used to be out in the mid-1930s, cinder block, 1-car garage, pump island in front. Now looking west down Route 66, I got an old photograph for you. On the left is a G&E Modern Quartz. We have the Sinclair station and garage, the Co-op building, the Texaco star on a pole. There's even a Shamrock way at the end. Lots of garages and gas stations on both sides of the street. But that building, we know what that was. That's a tavern. It's a brick building, large glass, brick windows. On the edge here, on those rounded corners right there, little streamlined, modern, rounded look there. Across the street, this building here, that's called Smith's Cafe. This is the former Smith's Cafe diner, dates back to 1930s. 1 block down we have the Old Western Motel. Looks abandoned. Here's our neon sign. Used to say Western Motel. It's a lot higher up, way up there, but looks like it's been shortened down. This motel, built sometime in the 1930s. It's got a couple pink cabins left over. One of the ends got a gable roof. This one's got almost like a hipped roof. Here's our office. Right in front we have a old car here. Wow, got an old Plymouth here without the P. 1963. It's been abandoned here for quite some time. Just a great looking old car, bench seats in front. Oh, today we're on Route 66 in New Mexico. We just left the town of San Jon. We're headed out to Tucumcari, and along the way on this 1926 road we're going to hit the Cedar Hill grocery store and station. It's a great destination. And on our right here, this is Interstate 40. Place. Oh my goodness. It's called the Cedar Hill Grocery Store and Station on Route 66. Used to be old dirt road right here. It was established in the late 1800s, operated until the mid-1970s. And in the mid-1960s, owned by a guy named Charlie Lillian Murray. One time in 1969, Charlie was tied up and robbed by 4 men. Anyway, that roof up there, they had old oil cans. That's a tinkering when it rains. Gable roof, stepped up facade up front. Right here in the canopy over the gas pump islands. Falling down. Used to have a neon sign right up on top here. Said Cedar Hill Grocery, save 2 cents. And over here, that's an old motel, I guess, a couple rooms. People would stay here if they're tired. And on the right, this is the old shower facility. This is the chicken coop down here in a little barn for the horses. Got mesquite plants mostly out here and a Cylindropuntia cactus right here. So this guy used in a great movie from 1960 called Wild Youth, starring Robert Hutton, John Goddard, Carol Omard. You see what this guy really looked like back in the day. So 34 minutes into the movie, there's some great scenes. The state patrol man, he's chatting with his buddy at the Cedar Hill gas station. Shamrock gasoline pumps under the canopy. Later at the 38-minute mark, stranded drug smuggling couple makes it into the grocery store, asks for help. And there are a few scenes where we go inside the store itself. And at minute 48, we get to see the patrol car driving west on Route 66 as it pulls up to the station. There are a lot more scenes up and down Route 66 of that movie. Maybe we'll be able to check it out. Anyways, there's a grocery store up here. And the fire pumps. See the pump island? Back here was a main little house by that juniper tree. So we're back on Route 66, headed westbound. We're going to come across a really great bridge at Revuelto Creek. Underneath our bridge here, got a creek. It's called Revuelto Creek. That's the Revuelto Creek Bridge. And Route 66 is here, but at one time, originally it headed straight across. All right, see all those little piles down there, piers? So that supported the old bridge. From the original Route 66, it headed over this way. And way on the other side of that creek, there we go, let's say from this angle, you can actually see the old road right out there. Right out there, that's the old Route 66. So this bridge here was built a little bit later on, in 1952. It's a 6-span steel stringer. A newer deck and guardrails were added a little bit later in 2004. About another half mile down, we have another bridge over another creek. So our bridge right here is at Plaza Larga Creek. It's our last bridge to Tucumcari. This one here is our newer one we drive on today, built in 2021. This one here, this is our 1952 steel stringer bridge for that 1952 realignment of Route 66. Down here is Larga Creek. It's a dry creek, only when it rains. So on the south side here, it's our 1952 bridge over there, 2021 bridge, Plaza Larga Creek. And over here, see those piles right there? Those piers, that's to support the 1926 bridge on Route 66. All this flat area up here. So it used to go over here on the far end. See where it flattens out? That's where it entered the other side. Hey, welcome to Tucumcari, New Mexico. This is Route 66. There's a ton of stuff to see down here. Right next to the Super 8, it's our first site. This is the Whiting Brothers service station. There's over 100 of these service stations, and 32 were located on Route 66. Used to have a big sign in front, supported by 2 steel poles. This yellow guy here is our 1960s ranch-style service station. And that style was introduced by Shell in 1957. It has a low-sloping gable roof, brick finish, chimney-like extension at the top there. This one here, it's an old Gulf filling station. A flat top canopy, glass pane windows all around the office here in the service bays. Hey, here we have Ken's Ice Cream Sandwiches. Beautiful shop here, opened in 1979 by Ken Humphrey. Closed the doors in December 2018. So at one time it had a red roof eave, and on the eave here it said sandwiches, and on the top of the roof there, big block letters said Ken's Ice Cream. And the neon sign here has that little roundabout arrow lighting up and pointing you down to these beautiful ice cream shops. So a lot of kids got their first job here at Ken's. It's all closed up now. Across the street from Ken's here, this was the Pony Soldier Motel. You could tell by those white poles there. Used to hold the sign up for Pony Soldier Motel. So this is our Tucumcari Inn. Also the Tucumcari Motel, but originally this is called the Aruba Motel and Tiki Bar Restaurant. Opened in 1960s, had 28 tastefully appointed, unusually well-maintained rooms. This is our historic Route 66 Motel. Used to be called the Royal Palacio Motel. Built in the 1960s, had a super colorful modern design, horseshoe layout, flat roofs, great accents on the trim. This is the Kiva A-OK Welcome Motel on Route 66. So originally this was called Mesa Court, with views of the famous Tucumcari Mountain. Later it became the iconic Kiva Court Motel. Advertised 30 air-conditioned units, panel array heat, family units, a couple kitchenettes. The best for less. And today it's run as a RV camp, but extremely modern, box-shaped parapets above the units, accent striping all along the edges. Here we have the classic Palomino Motel. Opened in 1953, called itself one of the Southwest's most beautiful hotels. Got a U-shaped layout, separate building up front that served the office. Had 20 air-conditioned rooms, covered carports between the rooms, tiled tub shower combination, and a phone in every room. And look at a Route 66 hot rod coming down. Holy moly. Anyway, later the garages are filled in, make a total of 31 rooms. This is the Almara Inn on Route 66. In the 50s, it's called the Tucumcari Travel Lodge. L-shaped layout, 39 rooms, TV, phones, baby cribs, a good restaurant. Also had a pool right in the center of the courtyard behind the main building. Originally had a long canopy right in front of the office here. Also had a fancy green neon Travel Lodge sign with this Almara sign. Sits today right up there where that cowboy and that wolf or coyote is. Used to be the Travel Lodge Sleepy Bear mascot. This here is Dell's Restaurant with that big cow on top since 1956. 1958 it advertised open 5 till 9 every day. Dinners, luncheons, gift shop, and cocktail lounge. Used to have a horizontal neon sign up front, but it's being replaced by this fellow right here. We have a kind of chimney in front. It says restaurant right on top. This guy here is a restored Texaco. Used to be called Guy's Texaco. 1950s style service station. It originally started as Guy's and was turned into Cards. Today it's a jewelry, collectibles, antique shop. We have this guy here. He's called the Fort Apache Motel. It's all boarded up and closed right now. But used to have a great, iconic, arrowhead-shaped neon sign. It's on the ground right here. Anyway, the original sign was in the 1950s, displayed a Kokopelli. That's the fertility god of the southwestern natives. He was a long-haired humpback man playing a flute. Today was a Apache woman. You can't really tell. It's our Apache Motel. It's all boarded up. So what else we got? Oh, we got a Denny's here. Oh, you can tell by the Denny's because this boomerang shaped little parapet roof here. Holy smokes, called Denny's Tucumcari Diner. 1960s boomerang roof. On top of the pole there, see? Looks like Denny's up there. The Denny's diamond sign now reads Kicks on 66. Anyway, the original Denny's here was painted white, and the pole holding the sign was a lot lower. Or it used to say, always open, Denny's Restaurant. All right, so our Roadrunner Lodge used to be called the Leatherwood Manor Motel, built in 1964 by Agnes Leatherwood. Now it's called the Roadrunner. Two-story L-shaped building designed with a unique mountain charm. Original gabled roofs. And the overhangs, they've survived. Once had an amazing sign right in front of here for the Leatherwood Manor. Golden Dragon looking east. Here's a 1970 photograph, what it looked like. We have the Leatherwood Manor on the left, and the Chevron Standard Oil behind it. On the right, our Golden Dragon here. Then we have the Circle S Motel, Denny's, the Apache Motel, and a bunch of cool cars all around. This is our TP Curio Shop. Started out in 1944 as a Gulf station. Typical box style, rounded corners, flat canopy over the gas pumps, raised office, large windows, a circular Gulf sign over the canopy. After the war ended, added groceries, meats, curios to the business. 1959 became a Texaco. And then when Route 66 was widened through town, the city removed the gas pumps up front. So looking westbound, this way, we've got a couple things. On the left is Leland Curios, a Gulf station. And on the right's the Lenora Court. Lots of other relics to check out. Next door, this marijuana dispensary called Puff. Used to be Meadows Restaurant. Anyway, 1950s, owned by Dora and Phil Meadows. Across the street here, it's called the Townhouse Motel. And today it's the Tucumcari Welcome Center on Route 66. This building here began as Rainbow's Glen Court. Later renamed it the Townhouse Motel. Advertised accommodations and comfort found only in the finer motels, a swimming pool, TV, and phones. It's a U-shape, 2 stories in the back, 1 story on the sides. So our Blue Swallow Motel, iconic, built in the 1930s and still open today, listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The first thing people see is this beautiful neon sign up here with that blue flying swallow right there. Symbolizes safe homecoming to sailors. He lights up like a beacon every night. Motel Safari on Route 66 here. Built by Chester Dorer in 1959. And it's pretty much unchanged over 60 years. Has a terrific Googie style architecture, modern atomic and space age inspiration. A couple doors west, this is the Trails West Lounge. Packaged liquor. It's like a Western place. Originally this is called the Orbit Lounge. Dates back to the 1950s. Started out as a grocery store. 60s. It was updated to give it a more funky, googie style space age appearance. Old neon sign was amazing. Even had a funky satellite gizmo at the top. This here is called Vista. It's the old Shell station called Swift's Shell Station. And it's going to have another typical ranch style design from 1960. And what do we got? Across the street, oh, here we go. That's called Lenora Court. Real famous Lenora Court and gas station from the 1930s. To the right was something called the 66 Motel. It's not here anymore. Anyway, there was really two parts to the Lenora Court. The brown building on the right was a motel. To the right of that was another motel you can't see, but this one here has this classic Spanish mission style building. And the original building extended a little more further to the right. On the left, it's not here anymore, it's torn down. It's a stucco adobe, whitewashed, tiered, two-story Conoco gas station. Had 3 gas pumps in front, no canopy, and this beautiful, great neon sign on top of the building said Lenora Court. And finally, both structures were replaced by this new building here. It's called Boulevard Cleaners and Laundromat. On the top is what we call the Wash Lady, 8-foot high neon sign. She lights up at night. Put here in 1990. And across Route 66, this is Loretta's Burrito Hut Restaurant. New Mexican food, burritos, tacos, enchiladas, tostadas, Frito pie, nachos, the best hamburgers in Tucumcari. It was once part of the Sahara Sands Motel, which is this structure right here on the left. At one time, it was called Joe's Get Your Kicks on Route 66 Cafe. Now it's Loretta's. This is Sahara Sands here. Anyway, had this awesome sign right up front, giant neon Sahara Sands Motel, yellow backdrop, mounts it on a sort of giant slanted V shape. Our brick building here used to be a restaurant called Sylvia Anthony's Restaurant. Real famous, specialized in serving Italian, American food, also known for his famous roasted chicken. And on the right, he used to have 2 long steel poles that held up a neon sign with a chef and a fancy French cook and hat. Across the street, this rounded, streamlined, art moderne building called Tommy's Steak Shop Cafe. Beautiful building with the rounded corners. Big glass block windows. Anyway, specialized in sizzling steaks, fried chicken, regular diners, and dinners. On the right of the lounge in the corner there is a little separate business area. It's called the Hitching Post, cocktail lounge. But in the 1960s, the Hitching Post was relocated down 4th Street. So across the street from our steakhouse, here it's called La Cita Restaurant. Very Route 66-y sombrero up on the roof there. Original color was reddish brown adobe and lighter turquoise blue, and today it's this yellow with the strong kind of brownish accents on it, on the borders. Right here at Lowe's on 2nd Street, you head down 2nd Street called the Main Street District. All the way down, there's some stuff down there like the train station we won't take a look at. But right here was the location of the old Ozark Trails obelisk, erected here in 1918 by the Ozark Trails Association. Cute little building here, Route 66, Wild at Heart Floral, Gifts and Delivery. This is once a famous Lynn's Restaurant and Cafe from 1960s, 66 days. Complete dining service, breakfast, luncheon, dinners, skillet filleted fried chicken at reasonable prices. The building looks a lot the same, but it was originally painted orange with reddish trim and had huge windows up front that are filled in today. At the top was a strange looking spinning propeller with the image of a chicken, some type of meat pie underneath. Okay, across the street, this is beautiful. This is our Gullwing Phillips 66 station from the 1960s. Way up front, they got those beautiful large glass windows for the office. And the garage bays are up, but they're glass paneled bays. During the 60s, Phillips standardized their filling stations with this triangular gull wing shape. At the end is a oil derrick. On top was the Phillips 66 logo. Today it says tires. Across from our Goldwing Phillips, this guy here is the hitching post. Moved up here from Tommy's Steak Shop down the street. So the building looks a lot the same, red brick, columns in front, sort of a little privacy wall. Anyway, see that little monument sticking up right in the center there? On top it used to say the hitching post logo in lounge block letters. Across the street, this guy here says Jesus heals the broken heart. It's all boarded up today. In the 1950s, there's two businesses here. This building on the left was the Huff Motor Company. On the right was a malt shop. See that? Malt hobby shop. Oh. The malt hobby shop. Anyway, Lily and Mark Huff, they ran both businesses. Originally down on Center Street in 1940, moved up here. So it acted as a dealership for Packard and Hudson. We had big showroom windows in front. They're a lot bigger, all the way from ceiling to floor. But after they closed American Motors, they dropped the Hudson brand in 1954, and Packard went out of business in 1958. Hey, across the street, this is called the Pow Wow Restaurant and Cocktail Lounge. It's iconic Native American Thunderbird sign right up there on top. It sits on the corner of 8th and Route 66. In the Route 66 days is a long brick building with a white roof with the words Specialty Char Broiled Steaks. And the restaurant's still open. Now it's called the Lizard Restaurant. Here we go, that's the original restaurant right back here. Pow Wow Lizard Lounge. Behind the restaurant, this is the old Congress Inn. Now it's called the Pow Wow Inn. Restaurant lounge was renamed the Pow Wow, and the motel had 75 rooms, color television, free golfing, heated pool, airport courtesy car. A little lizard here, I survived. His historic Pow Wow Inn, Lizard Lounge. So this sign here, beautiful neon guy, it's the side of the Westerner Drive-In. At the top it said Westerner, in that little circle there had a hamburger underneath it, and then Home of Quality Food Drive-In right there. I'm not sure what was here, because that was added on a little later. But the hamburger joint was right by these sheds here. Anyway, served daily specials, bigger drinks, smaller prices, happy hour. Very popular spot, opened in 1949 but closed for good in 2000. Tri-Star Inn Express dates back to the 1960s when it was originally called the Tucumcari Ramada Inn. L-shaped layout, at a restaurant right in front, and 61 beautiful large rooms. And all the rooms were equipped with long boy beds, heated pool, free teletyped reservation service. This monument right here, it's called the Route 66 Monument, created by Thomas Coffin in 1997. It's chrome rock sculpture here. Embraces our 1950s Route 66 days. And the red stone at the base symbolizes little automobile tires you see going across there. In the upper part, that's a tail fin. The lights light up and back and kind of shoot out like a flame. So we'll take a look at our Redwood Lodge Motel here, owned by George Gantner and his wife. Old motel, 28 units. Today it's an apartment complex. They rent it out to students. It used to have a giant slanted monument in the front, red brick, white roof, with a big motel sign on top. So headed eastbound on Route 66. This will be our first motel we find here. Going westbound, it's the last one, called the Paradise Motel. So our final stop had the giant, beautiful neon Paradise Motel arrow sign in front, called the Paradise Motel, an old Texaco station. At one time it's called Travelers Paradise Motor Lodge. Old motel, two-story office, linear layout on the right side of the property. You see, nothing is here today. Got a giant pool in the center parking lot. That's our tour of Tucumcari, New Mexico. We're headed westbound to the town of Montoya. And the road to Montoya is probably more fun than the actual town. So Route 66 originally headed straight right here over the railroad tracks, but you can't do that today. You need to veer to the left. It's a Red Lodge Motel. Up ahead's the Tucumcari trading post. We're gonna hang a right here to the old Route 66. There's the Tucumcari trading post, and way up ahead's called the Paradise Motel. And this here is Route 66 on the left, right here at John's Truck Service. On the left out here, that's our newer road. That was 1930 when this road here was cut off. So it's only Route 66 for 4 years. Now we came down Route 66 this way, and it veers out to the 1930 road. But look at that underpass. It's only 9 feet 6 inches. So you probably barely get through there. That's why nobody goes down this road. But if you went straight on this road here, this is Route 66. Packed dirt and gravel. No curbs. Anyway, I think it extended a little further out this way, but it's pretty narrow. But here's the end of the line. It's all blocked off, so you can't drive it today. We have a chair. Beautiful railroad tracks. We're going to go back under the highway. It's really bumpy, but it's pretty fun. And right up on the top of the hill is the 1930 alignment. If you go to the left, you hit an old abandoned Shell station. Yeah, this place here is a Shell superstation. Big canopies, all abandoned. All that there. Underground storage tanks taken out. You see the monitoring well. That's probably for contamination underground. But I'm going to make a whole different video for this guy. And this road to the left, that goes to Interstate 40. You want to hang a right here and go. So it's just a 2-lane road. Today it's got asphalt on it. And I'm sure it was paved back in the 1930s before Interstate 40 came by. On our right, that's the railroad. And up here on the right, you can see this big mound of dirt. Okay, we're going to cut off here because that's another part of Route 66. Right here, see, the road goes to the left, but the real road headed out here to the right over this little mound of dirt. Hey, we got our mound of dirt, but if you're really inclined, you could take this little side road up here, Route 66. Now we leave our 1930s road, and this is called the 1950s Route 66 road. So it's a whole bunch of zigzagging, 1926, 1930s. But up ahead is going to be a bridge. It's called the Bluewater Creek Bridge. This here is built in 1950. It's a 3-span steel stringer bridge. Right over here. And that's Bluewater Creek. Right down there. Tarantula right in the middle of the road there. On Route 66. He's crossing, so hopefully we don't run him over. So right about here at this turn, Route 66 actually crossed over, but Interstate 40 destroyed it, so they had to build this little tunnel to go underneath Route 66. It's super cool. Here's our little bypass tunnel, they call it, and that's called the Old Route 66 Underpass. A little creepy. Kind of looks like one of those golf course underpasses. Oh goodness. It's a little bit east of Moriarty, or Montoya, sorry. Anyway, that's pretty neat. Above us is the westbound lanes of Route 66, and here's the railroad tracks. We're going to head left, and then we're going to be right on our 1926 road again. Uh-oh, we have a little flood right in the middle of Route 66, but there's a little bypass road here, and hopefully this jogs along. Hey, this is really neat. This is our Route 66. We're going to see a series of these old bridges here, built in 1936. Steel stringer, these concrete little barriers and guardrails on the edges with beautiful sunflowers too. all asphalt on top right now. Little underpasses for the highway. All gets flooded out down there. Anyway, see our plaque right here. Built in 1936, safe load, 15 tons. So we have 3 of these along our little road. Parallels railroad tracks right here. Well, we're here in a quandary. It's our washed out road here. I think it looks pretty deep. On the other side, that little bypass road at dead end, so we had to turn around. And I'll show you if I throw a rock in there. Oh yeah, that's not gonna be able to pass. It's got to be probably 2 feet at the edge right there. So we're gonna have to head back, get back on Interstate 40, figure out how to get down to Montoya. Hi, today we're in New Mexico on Route 66. Beautiful September day. Holy smokes, that's Interstate 40 headed westbound. This here is our 1926 Route 66, headed from Tucumcari out to the ghost town of Montoya. And there's 3 of these beautiful concrete bridges we'll find along the way. This one here is built in 1936. It's over the Arroyo de las Palomas. This is the Montoya Cemetery on the east edge of town, established in 1910. It's pretty barren today. No trees, maybe a couple local shrubs in there. It's all locked up, so you can't get inside to cross this little store here. It's probably the first store you would hit on Route 66. It's called the Cold Beer Store. Right on the side there it says Cold Beer. It's kind of a relic right now, busted up. We'll just continue on. So you take this little dirt road here, with little struts on the side to get to our church. This building here is a St. Joan of Arc Church under the Archdiocese of Santa Fe. It's a single room, painted white, with gabled roof on top there, and a beautiful cross right at the entrance. All right, we made it to Montoya. Here's our Route 66. Up that way is the cemetery and the church. Head down this road. It's called Main Street of Montoya. This fellow here, kind of the last thing really standing, most popular. It's called the Richardson Store, established in 1908, listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And it's all kind of torn down. Holy smokes. So standing right here, looking south, this would be Main Street. 1910, had some buildings on the left here, old wooden warehouse-like buildings, and on the right as well. But not a lot is here today. So originally, our Richardson store was built of wood, and later upgraded using the local red sandstone to rebuild it. It had gas pumps underneath this broken down canopy right here. This guy's way over 100 years old. Anyway, see, look inside here. That's all crumbling. Look at that. Out here, that's the T4 Cattle Ranch, established in 1902 by Yetta Khan and her 3 sons. Here's old Route 66, 1926, heads westbound to the town of Newkirk, almost a ghost town. And along the way, we're going to switch around 1926 road to 1936 road and kind of zigzag all the way across down to Newkirk, so it gets a little confusing. Now back on our 1926 road, you want to go straight here. If you go left, you hop on Interstate 40, but you go straight. At the top of the hills, a little intersection, but stay in the right-hand lane. Don't go over the freeway yet. We're going to head this way on our 1926 road. It's called the North Frontage Road, and it runs along the railroad tracks right out here. But it does dead end. you have to turn around and go back to what's called the 1936 alignment on the other side of the highway. Let's go right down here and take a look at our first culvert, which you can't cross over. Diamond. So the frontage road, just when we get on, this is our historic Route 66. Up here's a bridge. It's called the Arroyo Laguna Bridge, built in 1952. It's a 5-span steel stringer bridge. It replaced an older bridge from the 1930s. It used to be here. It was actually a little bit south down that way. You might see an abutment if you're lucky, but this is our newer 1952 stringer bridge. This gravel road here is our 1926 Route 66. It's called Bull Canyon Road. It kind of meanders around a few miles and it turns up at the town of Newkirk. Oh, we're hitting a dead end here. So I don't think we're going to be able to get to the bridge, but we'll take a little peek. Yeah, so here we go. It's called Bull Canyon Loop. No trespassing, no hunting, private roads. No wood cutting, owned by the Bull Canyon Ranchers. Anyway, you head down this road, you're gonna hit that washed out bridge. 1936 steel stringer, supported by 13-foot piers. Overall span is about 100 feet, but it's all washed out. It's a really bitchin' bridge though, so we're gonna have to head back to our 1936 road. This bridge here is the Pajarito Creek Bridge on our 1936 alignment. Built in 1951, it's a 3-span steel stringer. And up here at the old Route 66, it comes down right there. Not sure you can see that. We'll get a better look later on. There used to be a bridge out here as well. Much older bridge from 1920s, but I think, of course, it's all washed out. But if you get way up there, you might see some abutments. We're going to head down this way, see if we find the spot where 1926 comes into our 1936 road here. So our 1926 road comes out right about here as it veers to the northwest. You see that road up there? That's our 1926 Route 66. It heads down this way, all the way till it meets up with our newer alignment. Hey, we made it to the town of Newkirk, New Mexico. Old building here, not sure what that is. This is the Route 66 gas station. Used to be the Newkirk Whiting Brothers gas station. Anyway, here's what it looked like in 1980. White building, flat canopy, red trim. The sign in front said Whiting Brothers. Had their little shield-like logo, sold groceries too. Now at the east end of Newkirk, we got Route 66, 1926, this way. And this is called Main Street, also called Emerald Road, the Main Street of Newkirk. All these ruins here. There's an old house. Got that tin roof on top. Great little gabled front entrance there. Really, really cute. This here's a old Spanish adobe revival motel. It's be all whitewashed here. Flat roof, but see those timbers sticking out there? They're called vigas. Anyway, you've got a room. Perhaps this was a parking garage actually. And here's a room here, so you sleep here and you park your car here. Little parking garage. Here, we'll take a peek inside. Holy smokes. Oh my goodness. She's all falling apart. Wilkerson's Country Store. Groceries, ice, poultry. And we just have a sign up here for Gulf brand gasoline. Here we have the gas pumps. Anyway, here's one of the most photographed buildings out here in Newkirk. Tried to stay in business, but it closed its doors in 1989. Closer look here at Wilkerson's. Get this beautiful V-shaped canopy kind of falling apart. Beautiful sign up front. Of course, anyway, a lot of cracks in the walls. Beautiful adobe whitewash. structure. I can't go inside because I'll probably die. You see it's all falling apart. Beautiful fireplace way back there. So the Wilkersons must have lived here on the left. And here's the store. And a little cafeteria set up over here, probably. Yeah, this old wooden building here, built in 1910. This is the old post office. It was located here, probably right on the side there, but in front, this old gas station and a store. Got some writing here, right up there. It says gas, groceries. Anyway, let's see what else. And campground. That was a rooster. It's our next to last building. Used to be an old, humble gas station. Looks like a residence today. And of course, it came a little bit later in Newkirk history. It's all cleaned up. Sold humble gas. And of course, here's our Whiting brothers. That's our little town of Newkirk, New Mexico. We're gonna head westbound this way on Route 66 to the ghost town of Cuervo. So we just left the ghost town of Newkirk. We're headed westbound to the next ghost town of Cuervo. It's spelled Cuervo, but people pronounce it Cuervo. It's about a 10-mile drive on this beautiful 1926 bouncy road here. So you know you're entering our little ghost town. You start seeing all these abandoned cars on the side of the road. It's got a little salvage junkyard going on right here. And Cuervo gas. See right here? This is pretty much all you're gonna see. All these cars, you probably got thrashed on Route 66 driving too fast, because some people go like 70 miles an hour down that bumpy road. It's called Cuervo gas. Anyway, that's all we're gonna find right here. Up ahead here we have some abandoned homes. Right here. Oh, here we go. Here's the original Cuervo gas right here. Used to be a Texaco station. Dates back to the 1940s, 1950s, flat roof, pump island right in front there. It might have had a canopy, maybe not. Small grocery store. That white pole in front, that held up the sign for the Texaco station. Also had a fancy looking little arrow right there. See that still there? Little weather vane kind of neon looking metal arrow. Anyway, this guy here looks like a type of a store. Says groceries right on the front there of the facade. So originally on Route 66 it headed straight across diagonally to the other side of the freeway, but it's all blocked off now, so to get there you had to go under this little underpass here, Interstate 40. Okay, we're gonna get a little decision point right on this corner here. So if you go right, in fact we're gonna go right now. This is the 1936 road to the right, and here that's our 1926 road down to Santa Rosa. And this is going to be a dead end up here, and we're going to have the old lost bridges on this road. But in the old days, you'd take this 1936 road, it heads out diagonally all the way down to Santa Rosa. So I just wanted to show you this part of the road. It's no longer drivable from 1936, but it's certainly a much easier road to take than our 1926 road that we'll take into town. So we're headed into the little town of Cuervo here, which is our ghost town, and nothing's really here anymore, but we got some tourists looky-loos. Here, see an old wooden house here with a beautiful canopy up front for the porch. And the beautiful home here. Up ahead, this is the church. It's called the Old Catholic Church, built in 1920. So if you head right here on this little road, we're gonna head up here. And at the end of this little road, we have this great washed out bridge. So Route 66, it kind of meandered a little bit through town and all these beautiful homes, and even came right up here, I believe, to this little timber road, timber bridge over a little creek. And nobody knows how old this little bridge is. Right there. But certainly it predates Route 66. And that's about all it for our town of Cuervo, New Mexico. We're going to head back to our 1926 road. We're going to head southbound and then westbound to the town of Santa Rosa. We're headed to the much larger town of Santa Rosa. And there's three ways to get down there to Santa Rosa. You take Interstate 40, which most people of course do, or you take a road out here, which is the 1936 alignment, heads diagonally from Cuervo to Santa Rosa, but there's a bridge out there, it's all washed out. So you could also take this road here, which is our 1926 road. It's all gravelly and dusty. Oh my goodness. This road heads straight down, makes a dead man's curve turn to the west, and then it goes straight across into the town of Santa Rosa. Here we are facing west. This is the road 1926. About a half mile up there is that County Road 2E. That's Downey 1 Horseshoe Road. And this road here is our 1936 shortcut. Heads out that way, called Cross Road. Heads up that way diagonally towards Cuervo, so it makes a big shortcut. But you can't get through there because of that washed out bridge. You kind of see that nobody rides on this 1936 road anymore. Okay, we made it to beautiful Santa Rosa, New Mexico. We're on Route 66. There's our beautiful shield sign right there for Route 66. The first thing you're going to see here, right up there, that's the old Texaco sign. Used to say Texaco, right up there. And then further up is a bunch of stations and places all on our old Route 66 here. So Santa Rosa is a really big town. Silver Moon Cafe, it's a historic landmark here. Established in 1959 on our little legendary Route 66. It's a world famous signature Mexican dishes and American favorites. This guy's old. It's called the Chinese Restaurant and gas station. Well, at least it was a former gas station at one time. Got that beautiful huge canopy right on top there. Gas pumps underneath. And right there it says Chinese Restaurant. That's pretty neat. It's called the Golden Dragon in the old days. For Santa Rosa, population 2,469, elevation 4,620 feet. The guy across the street, that's an old Shell station. 1957 ranch style service station. It's got that residential design on it, the brick veneer, large gable roof. No canopy though. One time it had a brick-faced chimney like monument on it. Over here, this is called the Route 66 Auto Museum with that old yellow car on a pole there. Anyway, see that guy right there? This guy here is a old Esso gas station. Happy Motoring, 1960s, white, oblong, box style, detached canopy, panel windows on the garage there. And the big office in front with those huge windows. 2 pump islands with those gas pumps underneath. Had the slogan, Happy Motoring. That's our Esso slogans. But up here, this is called the La Mesa Motel. We'll do a little loop inside that guy. 1940s L-shaped motel. Now, the sign here is from 1950. Used to have a real large 20-foot high sign, 12 feet wide, arrow pointing toward the motel. Anyway, used to be a lot higher up there, but that's the La Mesa Motel. 2 little separate buildings there. Who knows? Over here it's called the Rio Pecos Ranch Terminal. Dates back to 1955. A sign there is 30 feet high, 33 feet wide. and it straddles the Pump Islands. It's all flaking away now in the hot desert sun. Portrays a little truck there on that circle, right? And that's the trailer in the back. And a little driver in the front there too. Used to have a little animated arm that spun around, and it sits on that little beam there, and that represents the Route 66 roadway. It's a real famous truck stop, right? Around 1950s. The sign says Jim Cena right there, construction. Used to be a fancy Googie arrow, neon, flashing sign. It said Ellis Truck Stop. And both the buildings are standing today. This one here, and this one right here, and the one on the right was a mobile station, and this one here was a little cafe restaurant. See that great little monument right in front? All your restaurants have those fancy little brick monuments or chimneys, and on the top it's always had the logo. And the mobile station used to say Mobile Gas along the top, 2 bay garages, super tall glass on the front office. On the right, Econo Lodge Inn and Suites. That's the former Shofford Motel. Once used to be really, really popular. So originally had more of a Spanish colonial look, one level, crested rooftops, multiple 1 and 2 bedroom connecting rooms. The registration wall had a giant drive-through canopy with a block lattice wall in front. Now today it's a little bit open there, you can see. Had a beautiful neon Googie style sign up front. Had a star, an arrow, Motel Shofford, and a little information marquee below. Now today it kind of looks like this boring Econo Lodge Inn and Suites. Nothing real fancy. So anyway, today this is called the Route 66 Cafe. Looks like it's closed up. It was operated by the Velasquez family from 1986 to 2019. Sold steaks and Mexican food. It was built in the Route 66 days. It was Letty's Cafe Restaurant. It pretty much looks the same today. Slightly angled roof, white coloring, accent with red trim it used to have. And today it has black trim. But it pretty much looks the same. But this is added on, the extended glass walkway entrance. The windows used to be larger. The buildings always has this restaurant on top, all the way from the very beginning. Iconic neon lit yellow diamonds. We made it to the Blue Hole. Right here, a couple scuba divers. And Santa Rosa is the scuba diving capital of the Southwest. You actually scuba dive in that Blue Hole, but today it's closed. This here is the actual 1926 Route 66, right by the Blue Hole here, recreation area. If you head eastbound, you'll run into some private property, and then Route 66 continues over a bridge, and then goes under the runway at the Santa Rosa Airport, ends up way at that alignment out in the desert where it cuts up towards the town of Cuervo. Here we got the famous Blue Hole right here. Gonna walk up these steps and I'll take a better look, but first, got the Blue Hole, depth of 81 feet, diameter 60 feet, outflow of 3,000 gallons per minute, water temp 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Hey, this is the Great Sun and Sand Motel and restaurant right here. Great iconic site on Route 66. Got the restaurant in front and all the rooms in the back we'll take a look at. But the sign here is 40 feet tall, 21 feet wide, mounted on those 2 steel poles there. And the sun and sand words are stuck right in the middle of that Zia sun. And motel underneath right there with the great neon letters. And that sign has been unchanged for 70 years. So let's kind of cruise around this little sun and sand. We've got the restaurant right up front. But in the back, you get all these rooms here, all part of the same motel. There, that's the Sahara Lounge from the 1950s, owned by L.G. Smith, who sold it to the McCallans in 1957. So unfortunately, it closed down in the mid-1980s. The original building was painted yellowish with white trim, had floor-to-ceiling windows on the right, smaller private curtain-drawn windows on the left. Original sign read Sahara Restaurant Lounge and Cafe running vertical. The neon lights were sold to a private collector. And just on the right, we have the Sunset Motel. It's a former Whiting Brothers motel. Today it's orange, but the Whiting Brothers motel here, except for the colors, the building's pretty much the same. Two main story unit right up front there, and a big row of one level units all along the bottom. Used to have a terrific Whiting Brothers sign right up front. Terrific neon sign with the vertical WB logo and the Whiting Brothers name running horizontal across it. Later it changed its name to Sunset Motel. The buildings are left unchanged and the sign here was replaced. It's still kind of fancy with that neon motel underneath. Across the street, that's the Route 66 Inn. We'll do a loop around this fellow right here. Used to be called the Will Rogers Motel. Started out as a small pink squared off ranch style adobe motel. Will Rogers sign up front and another one above the canopy in the lobby. Later they added a pool in the front parking lot. Also had a strange looking sign up front. A vertical circus tent colored diamond. Hey, here we have Joseph's Bar and Grill. See that sign right there? It says Joseph, neon sign. Since 1956. Restaurant and gift shop. So here's a view on a postcard, 1950s looking east. So on the left is La Fiesta Cafe. On the right is the Wilmer Highland Restaurant. And right here, the next building on the north is La Loma Lodge. Today's called Motel La Loma. La Loma means hill in Spanish. And this building here is a great building, the Guadalupe County Magistrate Court. This was the Club Cafe, super popular. That was torn down and the fancy signs were all removed, but the Club Cafe was founded back in 1935. His mascot was known as the Fat Man, a round, smiling man with a coat and tie, and the Fat Man appeared on all sorts of billboards along Route 66, advertising for Mexican food and margaritas. Hey, this is the Tower Motel, or Motel Tower. It's a huge property, almost shaped like a W. It has both an east wing and a west wing, and connected here is the little office right in front with that canopy sticking up and the beautiful arrow pointing to the office. We make a left on 4th Street here at this fancy block diner, and on our left, that's the Guadalupe County Courthouse complex right there. And down this way, this is the original 1926 Route 66 alignment. Heads down south, and it turns east by the Blue Hole, and then continues out towards the airport. This building here called Guacali Pottery, that used to be a Whiting Brothers service station. Same building, but it's all a little different. Same colors though for Whiting Brothers. That's pretty cool. Up here called Comet 2 Restaurant. This place here called Bobby's. That there was the Coronado service station and courts. It's at a gas station in front, and way in the back with all that junk there, those are the courts. You see the courts right there, little adobe style. They're all kind of beat up right now, but they run perpendicular to Route 66. Here in this little turnout area, these beautiful shrubs and trees, and that's our railroad right there, crossing over the Rio Pecos down here, and that's the Rio Pecos Bridge. This is probably the most photographed landmark in all Santa Rosa, that little bridge right there. Anyways, a whole myriad of postcards, photographs looking eastbound on Route 66 from the horse and buggies, 1930s, 1970s, many others. And the first bridge here was built in 1920, right around there. It's our typical Route 66 9-panel camelback through truss bridge, 1 steel stringer on the west approach and 3 steel stringers on the east approach. It was demolished in the 1930s, replaced with a full steel stinger bridge. And our bridge today was completed in 1959, 3-span steel stringer bridge. and a barrier pedestrian walkway on both sides. This here's a 1970s postcard looking east. That's our Texaco on the left. On the right's the Gulf Station. And behind that's another Texaco again. All right, here behind the Conoco Phillips 66 station, iconic old hotel is called the Rancho Motor Lodge on Route 66 and River Road. It's been here since the 1930s. Right there says Rancho. So original setup was a straight row of connected units, almost adobe style, white with red trim, red coverings over the doors, red adobe shingle style roof. Across the street from the Rancho, we have this guy right here, right behind the Cub Academy. America's Best Value Inn, used to be called the Surf Motel. Had 50 units, free TV in all rooms, even telephones. 2-story, 2 rows of rooms. Had a big amoeba-shaped heated swimming pool. Today it's called the America's Best Value Inn. We are on exit 267 from Interstate 40 right here. It's called Colonias Road. This road travels up to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it merges with Highway 84, which is our original 1926 Route 66. So coming from Santa Rosa on Interstate 40, Route 66 merges up along this road and then finally connects with our little Colonias Road right here all the way to Santa Fe, and that loops all the way back down to Albuquerque. And right here, this is the Sinclair truck station. Today, back in the 1940s, this was our popular Stuckey's restaurant and service stations, famous for sweet and salty pecans. Here we are at the beautiful Flying Sea Ranch. Oh, and it's great glory here. Officially, it's called the Boland's Flying Sea Ranch DQ Travel Center. It first opened with a small gasoline station, a diner, and a garage. The cafe was on the left, and the station and garage are on the right. The cafe was demolished, replaced with a new restaurant, franchised with a Stuckey's Corporation out of Georgia. Had a country-style curved slope roof and a little eave, double V-shaped butterfly canopy over the gas pump islands, and the trademark Stuckey's sign right on top. In 1964, the complex became part of Claude and Willis Boland's Indian Trading Posts and Curios. The new owners added their trademark Running Indian logo in front of the old service garage, began selling their trading goods and merchandise at the curio shop, selling everything from t-shirts, purses, pottery, jewelry, Navajo rugs, and even sunglasses. In 1976, the entire complex burned to the ground, and then they built this new structure you see today. Hi, today we're at the famous Clines Corners. Beautiful travel center, truck stop, right in the vast and arid shrublands between Santa Rosa and Moriarty. The history here, it starts with Roy Pops Cline. He set up his gasoline station and cafe at the intersections of New Mexico 6 and 2. In 1934, 1930s postcard shows Roy Cline's new business is a white stucco rectangular style building with a cafe entrance on the left and front entrance extending a little forward. Here we have an aerial photograph of Clines Corners in 1952. If you look closely, you can see the tall Gulf Monument in front of the station. And Route 66 there was only a 2-lane road, ran under the north-south bridge. And by 1960s, Clines Corners looked a lot different. They sold the standard gasoline and built a huge trading post and restaurant area. A fancy bright green neon sign was added up front. Today it's been completely modernized with this look right here as Clines Corners Travel Center, covering 30,000 square feet. Anyway, it has New Mexico's largest gift shop. And inside there you buy all sorts of curios and t-shirts and lots of goodies. This here is our 1937 road headed westbound into Longhorn Ranch. It's a 2-lane road. See the little white stripe in the middle there for one lane, separating the other one. 1937, Route 66. Coming through is a 2-lane dirt road, then paved over a little later on. This whole cutout area was the site of the old Western cowboy buildings. Then became a big pile of rubble by the mid-1990s, and now it's all empty. That's kind of sad. The first building here was the Longhorn Bank. Hosted blackjack floor. I'm not sure of the next wooden building, perhaps a curio shop. Then there was a main 2-story structure called the New Mexico Museum of the Old West, complete with old Western clothing, apparatus, stuffed animals, and all sorts of other whatnots you might find on the ranches. He had a haunted hotel ghost theme on the second level there, amusement area, and served ice-cold ice cream. On the first floor of the museum was the Longhorn Ranch Saloon. So out in front of the museum was the Indian Dancers stage, every hour on the hour. Running up and down the dusty old Route 66 was an authentic stagecoach ride. Next, at the side of the decaying Longhorn Ranch sign. And that sign, well, would have been right about here on those poles there. The RV Horse Motel, this area right here. Of course, that would have been the side of the Longhorn Ranch sign. In the Longhorn Ranch restaurant. 1-story, orange trim building, full-size windows. And near the end, I believe that was the main restaurant, which was later converted to the ranch. To the right of the restaurant was the last building of Longhorn Ranch, an old Enco service station. That's all you get, but today, nothing here. Over here on this side, well, that's the Albuquerque Cafe and bar, but also had big main motel and service complex right over here. That's too bad. And on the far end, on the northwest side of the property, this is the old Longhorn Ranch Motel. Long, linear, 1-stable building, gable roof behind the offices. Advertised 15 units, air-cooled by nature. Yeah, so these steel posts here, his original post hold the sign for the Longhorn Ranch Motel. Right here and down there, that's the little sandstone block foundation holding up that beautiful sign. And right here was that 15-room complex right here with the main office right in front. That's it. Little memory gone on old Route 66, the Longhorn Ranch. That's too bad. This is Interstate 40, about 3 miles down that ways, the lost town of Longhorn Ranch. But you take the frontage road, you hit this beautiful old abandoned adobe-like structure. It's called John Clark's Hitching Post and Snake Pit. So John Clark, he moved here from Ohio, opened up this store here and curio shop. Used to read Trading Post right on the front, but it's not here anymore. And here's our little store and Trading Post inside. Here we go. Oh my goodness. It's officially called the Snake Pit. It's a concrete block-shaped box here. Had a wire mesh on top. All right. It says Snake Pit right here on the side. Snake Pit. You can't really tell much today. But down here, this little mesh had a whole bunch of rattlesnakes down there. Anybody home today? No rattlesnakes, but I'm sure there's rattlesnakes out there. Yeah. Isn't that great? Kind of stop by Route 66, little hitching post, and here we go. Snake Pit. That's pretty cool. So here we are entering Moriarty city limits. So our frontage road kind of wraps around all the way to the south side of Interstate 40 over there. So you gotta head this little loopy road and over that bridge there. Hey, now we're on the 1937 alignment of Route 66. It's pretty wide today, but back in the old days it was only 2 lanes. So right at Lisa's Travel Center, right here. So if you head straight, you're dumped on Interstate 40. So you want to make a U-turn before you go too far. Hey, this is really neat. So you make a U-turn, And this here is the Lewis Antique Auto and Toy Museum. It's 8 acres, indoor and outdoor museum, over 700 classic and vintage automobiles and tractors. There's 1,000 toy trucks and much, much more. Some trains too. So right next door is called Danny's Car Wash. It's an old former gas station. This today is Route 66 Autos and RV Repair, sort of car wash thing now today. Anyway, this is the first gas station you enter when you come to Moriarty back in the old days. This guy here with that long pole up front, that here's another gas station. That was a gun shop. Looks like a flea market. Guns, ammunition, and jewelry. Anyway, 1953, this was a complete building. Gable roof, pump island canopy right in front. And we have these gas right here, but pretty much it looks a lot the same back in the old heydays of Route 66 here. This building here is on the south side of Route 66. It used to be an old cafe. Not sure the name, but that 2-story main building there used to have a slanted roof, but that little guy on the left, that was the 1-story attached cafe right down there. And on the right here, that's the Sunset Motel and the Whiting Brothers station. Now, Sunset Motel here opened in 1959 by Bill and Elaine Boguet. So Bill was a World War II's B-17 bomber pilot, and he built the first 2 rooms himself, and by 1969 expanded to 18 rooms. It's got 3 separate buildings laid out in a straight row, and then it kind of turns over, look like an L there at the back. And here's our Whiting Brothers service station. Very popular out here in Route 66. Welcome, Whiting Brothers Tire Repair. Bienvenidos. Wow, this is one of the many 100 Whiting gas stations and filling stations out here from California to Texas. This building here, today it's Iglesia Cristiana. One time this was the Frontier Saloon. Originally opened as a drugstore in the 1930s, and in the 1970s, probably earlier, it was known as the Frontier Bar and Saloon. It used to say Frontier Saloon right across the top there of the facade. Had a terrific green neon sign with the name Frontier Bar and bright lights on a pole. This building here is called Butter Pros. Originally, this was the Buford Auto Courts owned by Buford Crossley. So rooms were $1.50, and it fell apart in the 1990s and fixed up to become the Western Wild West Barbecue. And today it's called Butter Pros. And next door at the Quality Inn, this is called the Thunderbird Cafe. A whitish adobe-style building, pyramid-shaped columns holding up the canopy. And at the roof line is what was called pedimented parapets. They're curved, jagged decorations around the top of the building. Anyway, the Thunderbird Cafe was torn down in 1990 to make room for this Quality Inn here. So that's kind of sad. Hey, way out here, that's the water tower for Moriarty. In this park, it's called the Crossley Park, named after Buford Crossley. Hey, on the east end of Buford Crossley Park, you got a little statue of a cowboy. He's holding a little calf. This area here is called the Crossroads of Opportunity. This is Route 66, headed east to west. This is Highway 41 north to south, and the railroad used to come right through here a long time ago. They ripped up the tracks in the 70s. We got another fellow up here. He's doing some surveying along our little path. Let's see what he's looking at today. Ah, I know what he's looking at. He's looking down Route 66. A long time ago, from 1927, from this position right about here, this is Route 66, 1927, looking eastbound. All those beautiful buildings that aren't here anymore. Here we have a monument, Moriarty, the Crossroads of Opportunity. These beautiful stallions racing across the open plains of New Mexico. Look at that fellow. On this side of our Route 66, we have these Sands Apartments Quiet Studios. Used to be the Sands Motel. Opened in 1954 by a guy named Sims. So originally this had 6 rooms on the right and an office in the middle. And the office right there is still standing underneath that Sands apartment studio sign. Ahead we got Blackie's. We're going to take some time there. But on the right here is Junior's Auto Parts Tire Shop. This guy originally opened in 1937 as the White Way Garage and Gas Station, owned by a guy named Green Evans Jr. That's how you get Junior's right up there. Around 1960 it became Junior's Tire Shop. So we got the offices on the right here. It's all curved like that. Kind of like streamlined Art Moderne style. A little new and old here. We got the garage bays way in the back and the gas pump island. Well, that was removed a long time ago. You used to have a sign up there too. That right there is a whole history here of Blackie's Lounge and Dancing and Diner. Today this is Blackie's Lounge and Dancing Packaged Liquor. Next door this is called the May Pharmacy. Anyway, this has a whole huge history here of both these buildings and this building. It didn't really look like this back in the heyday. Here's an old picture. It's taken at the right side of the pharmacy building, just in this open area on the right. We got Blackie's sign and we got Stuckey's, Blackie's restaurant. Everything was right here at one time. So later on, Stuckey's began closing their franchises. The Stuckey's sign in front was changed out to a giant belt buckle design. So by 1990, the Texaco station here was demolished and Blackie's moved to our new location over on the right. Our Dollar General here, that used to be the side of the old Yucca Court, built around 1940. Had a stucco-like gas station in front, no canopy, 2 gas pumps. Along the back was a series of cabin units, all equipped with their own garages. Across the street we had the Cactus Mall. This used to be called the Cactus Motel. Opened in 1952. A quaint little L-shaped motel, had 12 cozy units, flat roof, outdoor parking, great neon sign out front. This guy here is the Lariat Motel. Used to be called the Lariat Lodge Motel. Opened in the 1960s by Mr. and Mrs. E.K. Hanks. Anyway, it had a lot cleaner adobe look and white stucco appearance. And up front here is the office, and in back is a big L-shaped connected unit. Our nachos building here, this is an old Phillips 66 service station. That building on the left, that was the service area with 2 roll-up bays you kind of make out there. And the building on the right, that was the main office. Anyway, see the front door and the slanted window? All covered up, but that was a slanted window there for our Phillips 66 station. This guy here is Waltz's Garage. Started out as Tillery's Garage. Later in the 1990s came Waltz's. Streamlined building, rounded corners, accents of red, contrasting with the whitewash. 2 service bays on the left here. Office area on the right. It's all rounded around that beautiful canopy up front with the old pump islands right here. Here we have the old Ponderosa Motel, still in service after many, many years. Opened around 1960s. Got the C-shaped layout, little brick building right here, gabled roofs. Survived. Across the street, way out there, that's called the Lazy J Motel. Built in the 1950s by Mr. and Mrs. C.E. Bostwick. Has a total of 8 units, a simple L formation. Originally it's white, parking in front of each unit, flat turquoise colored roof, and the giant neon sign in front, advertising free TV. Today has this extended hip style covering on the top there over the former office. Here's a famous El Comedor Cafe and restaurant, opened in 1953 by Mike Anyaya. Started out as a large squared off red brick building, big neon sign standing up front. on the two long poles you see right there still. And the trademark satellite little ball on top lights up at night. This here is called Mike's Friendly Store. It's been around since 1949. So anyway, original store had yellow themed aluminum parapet on the roof, large letters reading Mike's Friendly Store. And today they added an awning in the pillars up front there, little different colors. And then the sign here says beers and cocktails, Mike's Friendly Store since 1949. So we're gonna head out of Moriarty. We're headed into the beautiful town of Edgewood. So Route 66 here is called New Mexico 333. Runs on the south frontage road of Interstate 40 out there. And the first thing you're going to see about 4 miles east of Edgewood is this little guy right here. This guy here is called the Midway Trading Post Indian Curios Building. Anyway, built around 1945, one-story white stucco-like building. Served as a gas station, post office, curio shop, and a cafe. And it used to look really, really ratty. But about 10 years ago, a bunch of volunteers painted it, made it look nice. So the original building here read Navajo Joe's Indian Curios. There's a standard sign right in front, but the poles aren't here anymore, but we have the sign. Right here, see? Standard. Well, they're missing some letters, but you get the idea. A little campground here. We're going to take a look at this cool little RV park, Route 66 RV Park. Beautiful campground. We might stay here in the town of Edgewood, New Mexico. Hey, this little Red Arrow barbecue trailer, that's kind of an add-on. We used to have a really cool diner called a Red Top Valentine Diner. One of those old movable diners you kind of put around Route 66. So here we have Route 66, 1937, just from the RV park, headed into town. So in 1946, this place only had 132 people, a few cafes, single gas station, about a dozen buildings. Anyway, nothing original here, but the building is. Used to be called the 101 Cafe and Texaco Station. Anyway, a flat roof, small green around the trim, 2 large windows, 2 gas pumps on the pump island. Had a Texaco star circle and a sign on a pole. Connected on the right here, that was the Edgewood 101 Cafe, restaurant and motel. The original building had a yellow-red awning running around the sides. And the cafe was right there, right in front. And the motel, well, that was all along these eastern wall. You see right here by that key locks and safes. Right there, that's the little motel. So here we have Route 66 in the ghost town of Barton. It's mile 16, not 17. Right here, this is our half of a windmill. That's what's left of the Barton Bean House. Used to be a long wooden barn structure used for storing the town's pinto beans. Original wooden frame of our little windmill right there. Looks like an air motor, model 702. Right here is junction 217, Mountain Valley Road. Not much here, but right on the right here, what's called the Barton Conoco Service Station. We're gonna pull and take a real quick look here. Sold Magnolia gas. It's really old, opened in 1920. There's simply a single pump next to the Barton store arch. Little pumps right there. Under the sign in our photograph here is the owner, Abraham Reeves. To his right, well, that's his wife, Alva. You can roll down the window. We'll take a better look. There's beautiful gas pumps there and a little house for the Barton Conoco service station. So 1950s is known as Lester's Conoco. You had these 2 1950s Tokheim gas pumps right in front there. A small office next to the pump island. Here we are at the top of the hill. There's Interstate 40, and there's our 1949 alignment right there. And here we have the Route 66 Travel Center. This is the highest point on Route 66 east of Albuquerque. Sits at 7,000 feet above sea level. So once it was Brad Comer's coffee shop at Cedar Hill, probably built in the early 1950s after Route 66 was relined here in 1949. And in 1958 it was owned by a guy named Werner Eisenhut. So it's a one-story stucco white building, got a terrific racing stripe trim right on the roof line. Comer's coffee shop sign right in front. And at the right was our Phillips 66 filling station, gas pump under the eaves. So today, Comer's is on Route 66, Cedar Hill Travel Center, that we find right here. There's not a whole lot to see up here. In Cedar, it's getting real complicated, but if you ever made it to the other side of the freeway here, you would hit the 1937 road. It's a big windy road all the way on a street called Cedar Hill Road. Anyway, it's really narrow, winding, replaced with the straighter road in 1949. Lots of wonderful views, terrific country homes. Here's an old sketch of a road, probably at the address of 91 Cedar Hill Road. That's where Route 66 bends back down to the current I-40. And a little ways up, in the old days, you'd have found the Cedar Lodge and Trading Post. And that was probably from the late 1800s, early 1900s. And both were one-story adobe structures. The lodge on the left had a brick chimney and a corral in the center, little trading post on the right. And nothing is left of the buildings. So I think today just a little house sits on it. So a little section out here of Tabla Zone. This area is called Zuzik's. Little community out here along the old Route 66. There's Interstate 40. And before Interstate 40 was put here, right about here, about 100 feet up, that was the Zuzik's trading post, maybe 100 yards. You can't really see it today, but it sits between our road here and Interstate 40, but they had to rip it out. Anyway, Zuzik's trading post and curio store is decorated with antlers on the roof, signs promoting curios and Indian goods. There's also a chairlift behind the store that climbed up the mountain, up to the top, way up there. Give you a great view of all these hillsides. So just up here, right after Highway 14 on the left, we got Molly's Bar. We're gonna check that out. Here we have Molly's Bar. Opened in the early 1950s by Amalia Molly Simbala. Anyway, the original Molly's was torn down in 1974 to build the freeway off-ramp, but then she built her new building right over here, as you can see, 1974. She kept the original sign right here, complete fancy sign, got the little ball on top. There we go. So poor Molly's used to be kind of on the other side of the road. We got demolished. We're going to take a look and find our Santo Nino Church. Right there, beautiful church. Built in 1912, listed in the National Register of Historic Places. In 1937 photograph looking south, this is what you would have seen with that 1937 alignment, which is now covered up by Interstate 40. The church there is on the left. So along our road, there's nothing here anymore. It's all been torn down by Interstate 40. At one time, there's a 1932 gas station right about here, owned by Raymond Curtis. It's called the Oasis. It's right there, but it's all torn down. It's a small box-shaped building with groceries and a couple of gas pumps up front. But it's not here anymore. No. Hey, so that's our little town here, and we're headed into what's called the town of Carwell. This is the home of our Dead Man's Curve. Here we have our 1937 Route 66. And this is looking west now, up here. And the road originally went straight through, up in these hills here. Called it Dead Man's Curve. It's all twisty and winding up there. It's a dirt road. Ran straight across up into that canyon up there. Crossed the river twice on old timber bridges. Went down to the river, then followed the steep hills on the river's southwest and southern banks. So eventually it merged on the north side of our 1937 road, right here, way over the top of that hill. We're gonna try our singing highway, see if it still works, but right on the edge here used to be little rumble strips. I think you might be able to see a little bit right now, but we're gonna try to see if we get America the Beautiful to sing through the tires. So we turned around, we're going back west. This is our new Dead Man's Corner, Dead Man's Curve. Here's an early 1960s postcard at this location. If you're looking east, here's what it used to look at here at Tijeras Canyon. And this here is a 1930s view, also looking east behind us. The road we're on today followed a two-lane road that used from 1930s to the 1950s. That was destroyed when our current road was built later on in the 1950s. Now if you make a right-hand turn here at Atanasio Road, way up here in the rocks, you see a bunch of landmarks and where Route 66 used to come over after it crossed over today's I-40. Eastbound. It's a big old peak right up there and all these little rocks, and especially, see those little pile of rocks right there? I got some old photographs what this place used to look like on Atanasio Road. So anyway, this site is the site of the Child's Motor Court, dates back to 1930. There's a white squared off stucco style building with a large sign right on the front office there. And later, probably around 1940, the motor court was replaced by the old Tijeras Canyon trading post. There's a sign posted, Indian curios and snakes, in large capital letters. And check out these little Native American fellows are holding up their little homemade rugs. And that's the location right here, that big peak. Beautiful. So just ahead, about 0.7 miles, see the old Route 66 sign right there? This is the location of a old motel called the Old Mountain Lodge, historic Old Mountain Lodge on Old Route 66, owned by Mr. and Mrs. C.B. Saunders. And that burned to the ground in 2014. So here's an old photograph here. We're looking west. And this is the location we have today. But notice a single lane in the old Lost Bridge. Today it's that new concrete culvert. And looking up to the right, I'll show you in real time, right up here, that rock right there, kind of looks like a duck. Well, that same 1930s photograph taken at the bridge, here's what it looked like 1930s on this road. Anyway, that's pretty neat. We're going to continue westbound on 333. Now on the other side of Route 66, this guy here is called Glacier Boulder. Famous big rock. And here's a photo of Glacier Boulder in 1940s on our two-lane road. The landmark beauty is this giant boulder which dominates the grandeur of the many scenic spots in Tijeras Canyon. This here is called D&H Circle. Location right here was the old Webb trading post, 1950s. It's called the Echo Canyon District of Tijeras, owned by Carl Spider Webb. Simple box design, smooth white stucco, sold Indian wares, rugs, and merchandise. Our stables building right here, this was once the site of the famous Paradise Club. It's all been torn down. Over the years it held Dick Bill's Bar. And I think that's the same Dick Bill's in the Sandia Mountain Boys Entertainers, and they play here. It eventually became a feed store in 1970 called Spearcross Ranch. And then that burned down in 1996, and today it's called the Polk Strong Horse Stable. Right about here along the guardrail, all this rubble, these rocks, This is the site of the once famous Elephant Rock. Huge boulder resting on a flat rock served as his base. Once his famous natural landmark of Carwell Canyon. Very popular place for tourists to pose, to take photos. Sometimes also called the Balanced Rock, Teapot Rock, but most commonly the Elephant Rock. And when Route 66 was widened, the rock was considered too dangerous for vehicles, so it was toppled over. Anyway, that's kind of all you're going to find here if I got the right location. So there you go, that's the town of Carwell. We're going to head into Albuquerque. About a half mile up is a great little park. Right before Albuquerque, off our Route 66, this whole open space, it's called Route 66 Open Space. Big open park. It used to be called Little Beaver Town, little western country town. You know, you walk around, you find all these little footings and foundations and broken glass. No longer here, of course. Very popular place, built in 1961. It's a cowboy western theme park. So Little Beaver Town, well, they had Wild West reenactments of gunfights. They had a stagecoach, small trains, saloons, hotel, even can-can dancers. The site was built around two characters, Red Rider and his tiny Indian pal, Little Beaver. That's our highway back at Smith's. This is the old Western Skies Hotel. Cover this whole complex here. Built in 1959, two-story round-shaped structure. The courtyard in the center had 250 rooms, 60-foot heated swimming pool, cocktail lounge, and conference center. And up front was a big sign, Big Western Skies with a neon arrow. Our Desert Sands Inn and Suites, this is new. It's the site of the former Zing's Steakhouse Coffee Shop, founded in the early 1950s by Walter A. Zing. It's a small one-story square building with large windows in front. Serves steaks, chicken, Mexican, and seafood. Next door to studios on Route 66, we have this big vacant lot here. Used to be the Canyon Lodge. Opened in 1946. One-story white adobe stucco-styled squared-off building with red accents. Big neon sign up front reading Canyon Lodge, where comfort is assured year-round. This site next door, the Extenda Suites RV Park. This was the American Motor Inn. Opened in the 1960s by Hank and Mary Martins. It had a fantastic new space-age, bold geometric Googie-style design. A modern oasis in the heart of Indian country. A few doors down, the village at Sandia. This huge complex is the old former Holiday Inn from the early 1960s. 2 stories, a bar, restaurant, 300 rooms, 2 huge swimming pools. Anyway, across the highway, this guy, that's a former ranch-style Shell station. Anyway, that ranch style was introduced by Shell in the 1957. Had a low sloping gabled roof with brick finish, a chimney-like extension rising right up there. Today it's a marijuana dispensary called the Weed Shack. At the corner here of Figueroa and Central, Route 66 is Central. In Albuquerque we have this beautiful 1950s Phillips Gullwing service station. Terrific modern space-age design. It's got these large glass windows right in front. They're kind of boarded up today. White colors, blue and red accents. This great triangular shaped canopy slanted, heads up here to this oil derrick that holds the end structure way on the top. That's where you find your Phillips 66 sign and logo. We even have their Wiener Schnitzel and somebody setting up camp right there. Maybe a store. Of course, we have an IHOP. Looks like it's all boarded up. Another pot dispensary here called the Leaf and Flower. Right in here, and I'll tell you about this place. It's an old Shamrock service station. The original building was a slanted flat roof, icebox, white design, straight edges. 2 giant roll-up service bays, little step-down office there for our Shamrock. It had floor-to-ceiling windows, which are now shorter, of course, and has a standard green shamrock logo on a pole. Alright, we got more great scenes here of Albuquerque. Anyway, not sure what these people are doing, probably having Bible study. Just past King Kong Audio, it's called the Avengers Learning Center. Anyway, in the Route 66 days, this is called the Barbecue Inn, featuring the best hickory smoked barbecue and charcoal broiled steaks in the Southwest. So the original building looked like a barbecue barn shack, had a slanted roof, red painted wood look, fancy neon barbecue sign right up front. And today we have this flat building, different paint job of course. Here we got the Lotteria restaurant right here. Now this was one of our Blake's Lottaburgers, very popular franchise chain, created in 1952 by Blake Chancer. He's a World War II vet from the Navy, came up here from Texas. Said to have invented the famous green chili cheeseburger. And this original building, great looking shape, traditional squared off design, drive up hamburger joint. Used to have a slanted monument sticking above the roof line there, advertising Lottaburger hamburgers, 35 cents. And the sign up front here, see that? That's our original sign. These are the posts, those are the legs for our friendly Blake guy, our patriotic fellow on top of all of our Blake's Lottaburgers. Here we have La Puerta Lodge, used to be La Puerta Motor Lodge. Beautiful building. It's on the National Register of Historic Places, built by Ralph and Sadie Smith. Anyway, 1949. Anyway, the current building here is basically unchanged for 70 years. One story, rounded off, whitewash adobe, red accents on the columns and the windows, different paint job. Long row of units way in the back there. Even had open carports. See that right there? That's pretty neat. This is the original sign. All these units here, just fantastic. Okay, here we got La Luna Lodge, motel and phones. We'll do a little quick drive around here. It's got 28 units, U-shaped property, Pueblo, Spanish Revival style, stucco walls, projecting little wooden beams. Used to have those guys called the Vigas, but they've been covered up here. First class accommodation, an excellent dining room, heated swimming pool, beautiful view of the mountains. Flat roof building on the right. This one used to be the coffee shop. And here's our beautiful office today. See that great rounded corners there? Just fantastic. I love that kind of streamlined, art moderne kind of look in the corner windows there sticking out. So right next to Faux Lin, this guy here is the second location of the classic Greek style townhouse restaurant up in Albuquerque. The first location was opened a few blocks down on the east, and that closed in 2007. They moved up here in 2012. Today it's called the El Sombrerito Mexican Restaurant. Anyway, all of our little townhouse restaurants, they have that beautiful steer right on the pole there. Little wacky looking guy. Serves steaks, seafood, shish kebab. This building here at General Arnold Street, that used to be called the Chief Lodge. Operated around 1959. Right here to 1977 now. It looks like just an apartment complex. Something like that. The Chief Lodge. This is the site of the Tropicana Lodge. 2 levels, red color, grayish trim accents. It's a beautiful new motor lodge complete with tiled baths, tub and shower, thermostatic controlled wall furnace, Franciscan modern furniture, wall-to-wall carpeting, even had a pool. Big neon fancy sign for this guy here. Later is rebranded as Nendel's Value Inn. It was torn down in 2015, but we have the sign right up front there. This guy here is called the Out West. It's an old gas station, opened in 1963. We got McDonald's here on the right. Up ahead, just past this thing called Route 66 Plaza. That's the Pinion Motel. Used to be called the Pinion Lodge, opened in 1946 by Mr. and Mrs. Mueller. Here we go. It's got this great looking Spanish adobe look. At one time it was a white Pueblo Spanish Revival stucco building. Got those timbers coming out. At the roof line, it's called Vigas. It's got 2 rows of parallel units, front office, angles outward here. See that beautiful front office? More or less rounded off. Anyway, here we have this great Pinion Motel sign. Anyway, when it's rebranded here as Pinion Motel, we got this new Googie Space Age neon sign up front. And those arrows light up, but we're missing a few of those arrows. On the next block, we have the Bow and Arrow Lodge right across the street here. That guy opened in 1941 by Mr. and Mrs. L.F. Morgan's. 2 rows of adobe stuccoed units, individual carports between them. Used to have a fancy neon sign up front for the Urban Motor Lodge. Later it changed hands and the new owners renamed it the Bow and Arrow Lodge. Changed the color pattern to a darker brown color. Erected a new horizontal sign right up front. Anyway, the sign still lights up our beautiful Route 66, and we have a couple people on the corner here just hanging out. Not sure what they're doing. Here we go on the left here. It's called King's Auto Sales right there. 1963 box style service station. Flat roof, roll-up doors for the service bays. Lots of people hanging out. This is kind of scary here. So we kind of got to blow through Route 66 stations. Here's a library. We're going to take a look at the sign and these people hanging out here. Anyway, this was really the Caravan East nightclub. First opened in 1961 as a crescendo club. In 1963 it became a country music spot called the Caravan East. 1970s known as Albuquerque's largest Western country music club. This here is a Pioneer Motel. See the sign here? Anyway, started out as the Pioneer Luxury Court built in 1948. U-shaped layout, beautiful adobe style pattern there, lots of diamonds. Got a great little sign in front. This is called the Sandia Car Sales. What's a Gulf station? Classic 1954 Gulf style design there. Here we have Loma Verde Studios. Used to be called the Loma Verde Motel. Opened around 1950 by Oscar Stevens as the Loma Verde Court right here. And it has 12 individual units, all parallel back here, but it's kind of shady right now. So up ahead is the American Inn and Suites right here, built in the 1950s. Also La Mesa Court and the La Mesa Motel in early 2000s, and the Ambassador Inn. Now it's the American. Over here are the Cinnamon Tree Apartments coming up. That was originally the site of the Zuni Motor Lodge. Had 3 separate structures, 40 adobe looking colonial style units, a beautiful main building right in the center. Here we have a muffler man way up there. Let's see if you can see him very well. There we go. That muffler guy is part of the May Cafe Vietnamese restaurant. He's called Paul Bunyan, our muffler man. He's actually holding an axe. Like Paul Bunyan, get it? Anyway, Tracy's Modern Court. It's an empty lot, big empty lot. Dates back to 1930s. We've got Al's Upholstery here. That was once Leonard's Fine Foods. Boasted no finer foods anywhere. Opened in 1949. 1961 it was rebranded as Johnny's Farmer's Restaurant. Anyway, beautiful little Al's Upholstery there. Next door, this vacant lot, that's called the Guest Court. U-shaped layout, covered garages. Each unit had red accents on it. Nothing super fancy. Torn down in 1960s. This is the Tiwa Lodge. Beautiful building here. Adobe style. Little curved structures there. This is our very typical Spanish Pueblo type of motel. Gorgeous. Look at those vigas sticking out there. This is called the Trade Winds. That sign right there in the corner, that's the original sign. It used to be here and they kind of moved it over because they liked the sign so much. Kind of changed it up a little bit. Here's the bank. Huge, huge building here. Okay. Mr. Car Wash. You see those little towers? That's pretty brilliant. Used to say car wash on those towers. Here we have the famous Highland movie house or theater. Got some old photographs of him. Right up front, see a little monument. It's a little movie reel right there. And our Route 66 flames shooting out at nighttime, right in front of the movie house. This great motel, that little sun up there called the Zia Motor Lodge. The Zia Sun, right on top. No longer here anymore. We have our little archway here that brings us towards the end of eastern Albuquerque. That's the entry point to what's called Nob Hill. Nob Hill continues about a mile and a half between Washington Street and Girard Boulevard. Anyway, historically, this section of Albuquerque is for the rich and the posh people of the neighborhood, established in 1900s. Anyway, in 1916, the mayor erected a water tower on top of a hill in University Heights for the local residents. This here is the Defiance Motor Lodge. Anyway, listed in the National Register of Historic Places, opened in 1939, offered comfortable accommodations, as well as Zuni crafts and jewelry trading store. So Defiance has gone through a lot of revisions throughout the years. Here's what we have today, but in 1939, it's a collection of Spanish Revival whitewashed adobe structures with the little wooden timber vigas protruding from the roof lines, U-shaped layout, parking garages between the units, adobe village, two-story office right in the center. Across Route 66, this little motel structure with the wagon in front. That guy was called the Bel Air Motel, 1960s. Except for the color schemes we have today, it kind of looks a lot the same. Anyway, the original building had a lightish appearance with yellow accents, light green neon sign up front, the yellow with the red accents, darker sign, and finally a light brown sign with the little dark brown accents. Over here, now this guy right here, it's called Swayze's Dinner Bell. Opened in 1942 by Mr. and Mrs. H.H. Swayze. Offered motorists the finest meals in Albuquerque. Started out as our little Spanish Revival whitewashed adobe building with timber vigas on the roof line. Beautiful neon sign up front advertising their steaks and chickens. And then later on, this guy became a Circle K motor court after the Circle K cattle brand. This building here with the metal siding, this is Heights Cocktail Lounge. Opened in 1950. Became the town's local gay bar. This place right here used to be called Goody's Restaurant. Now it's the Korean Barbecue. Sometimes people called it Goody's Coffee Shop. Original building was erected in 1960s. Little modern, upwards canted roof. Got the little tipped eaves up there. Had a tall sign with multicolored vertical displayed bubble-like discs spelling out the name Goody's Sushi. This building here, Thai Cuisine, number 2. It's an old Der Wiener Schnitzel. Anyway, started out as an A&W root beer stand, 1949. 1960 became our Der Wiener Schnitzel hot dog. Erected with the company's original design, trademarked steep gable roof there. This is one of 3 Der Wiener Schnitzels in Albuquerque. Across the street, this is called the Comfort Lodge, 1950s, facing the beautiful Sandia Mountains. The original building was a simple brown tone, 1-story flat roofed, sort of J-shaped layout on the corner here. Office was in front. The big green neon sign on the corner, described as a very attractively furnished motel in the uptown shopping district. Here's our beautiful Morningside Shopping Center sign. Dates back to the 1960s. And here at Two Wheel Drive, that used to be the old El Cortez restaurant. Here we have the townhouse properties. This was the 1940s Paramount Cafe and Cocktail Lounge. Specialized in steak and served both Greek and ethnic food and Southwestern classic dishes. 1958 became the Townhouse Lounge, serving steaks and seafood. Even had a big cow on the roof. That guy there, It's called Lofts there. It's called the Premier Motel. Opened in 1941. Anyway, it wasn't the largest, but it was the best. 30 deluxe units, rear units, and patio. The rear units were in an annex building on the south side of the property. By the 1960s, the hotel grew to 35 rooms and added the amazing vertical neon sign with the red bubbles spelling out motel. Today, it's an apartment complex. We have right here, it says Lofts, and those little bubbles that used to say motel. Anyway, on Aliso Drive, this vacant lot, it used to be the Aztec Court, listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1993, all torn down now. So it opened in 1932 as the Aztec Court, built in our Pueblo style design, extruded wood vigas on the two-story office, enclosed garages, had the slogan, "If you stop, you stay." 12 modern cottages. Anyway, the old motel was torn down in 2017. Our motor lodge has a more cosmopolitan look today. Over time is torn down in 2001. It's Frame City. This is kind of what's called the art district down here of Nob Hill. Have a little outdoor swap meet. They're selling lots of jewelry and local artifacts and things like that. Nob Hill East. Check out this bus station. And the buses run right in the center on the left side and the center on the other side. So they got lots of free traffic. Hotel Zaz, Route 66, Z Lounge, vinyl, and cocktails. So this was once our travel lodge called the Albuquerque East Travel Lodge Motel from the 1960s. Then it became University Lodge. Today it's called Zaz. Originally had 55 units, a heated pool. Looks pretty fancy today. All those cool colors, but really the building's pretty much unchanged. Across the street, this little pharmacy, it's called the pharmacy. It's a little cafe, but it's called the Toddle House Cafe back in the old days, 1940s. One of America's first fast food chains. Open all night, offering good food at its best. Sold salads, sandwiches, and soup. Today this is called Nob Hill Court. 1937. Oh, there we go. That's cool. 1937, it was called Modern Auto Court. White stucco style U-shaped layout, covered carport parking between the units, office in the center, and a big neon sign on a post in the front office. Modern Court was on the roof too, a little sign there. Later additional units were added to the back, garages were converted to units, front office was simplified, and a new neon sign was erected in front of the office. Hey, over here it's called People's Flower Shops. It's the second location, opened in the 1960s by Max Pollock and his wife. The first shop opened downtown in 1944. Got the beautiful green tiles all along the roof there. Anyway, on the corner, this guy, Predator and Prey Exotics. It's a 1940s mobile station. Anyway, here's a pump island right in front there. Two steel posts holding up that flat canopy. It's all rounded on the edges. That's pretty neat. Now next to our People's Flower Shop, this vacant lot in the Clown Dog. That used to be a gas station, auto repair shop. Auto repair shop was torn down in the 1960s to make room for a KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. 1975 became Fat Humphrey's Hero Place.
Home of the bigger, better hero sandwich. Fat Humphrey's.
That was a landmark for like 25 years. Then became Nello's Ragin' Shrimp. And in 2019, it's now the Clown Dog Hot Dog Restaurant. Looking eastbound here, about the same location. On the left, we have our mobile station, Travel Lodge with our bear, Conoco, now the Alon Station, Aztec Motel, all the way down to the First National Bank. On the right is KFC. We just talked about the new Clown Dog. Then, of course, the People's Flower Shop, Nob Hill Motel, with the green motel sign, Premier Motel with the round balls and the star on top, and a few others. And the bank, of course, is the tall building way down there. This building here is Fan Tang Restaurant. Beautiful tower right on the back there. Anyway, this is our standard brand service station, built in 1946 by Albuquerque Oil and Gas Company, first operated as McCormick's Service. Across the street, that's the Nob Hill business center or shopping center originally, listed in the National Register of Historic Places, built in 1946, opened the following year. This was New Mexico's first drive-in shopping center. Across from the Nob Hill Business Center, that sign looks like a piano. That's for Vic Tanny's gym. Vic Tanny was an American bodybuilder, an inventor of today's modern gyms. He started his business out in Santa Monica in 1941. By 1960, it grew to 88 locations, and Vic got very rich. But as it goes, Vic was a big spender. With his lavish lifestyle, he ran out of money, and the chain eventually went bankrupt. Now our Mission Winery building, tasting room, used to be called Zacatecas Tacos and Tequila Restaurant right here. That's kind of neat. This building here, Enchanted Botanicals Cannabis. Anyway, during our Route 66 days, this was Kurt's Camera Corral. Rainbow awning over the sidewalk, great neon sign on top. Opened by Kurt Kuby in the 1950s. Right up ahead, this place called Chocolate Dude. That used to be called Baca's Mexican Restaurant. Closed around 1975 after the death of the owner, Milton Baca. This great building here still looks fantastic. It's Jones Motor Company in Texaco. Now it's Cold Stone Pizza, operated by Ralph Jones in 1939. Served as a Texaco filling station and a car dealership. Listed in the National Register of Historic Places. Beautiful gas pumps right in front. You got a little Fire Chief gasoline for Texaco. Here we have the Motel Highway House. Sleep is our business. Built in 1958 by Delbert Webb. He's a real estate developer, co-owner of the New York Yankees. So Webb, he also built the Flamingo in Las Vegas for the mobster Bugsy Siegel. Promoted the slogan here, sleep is our business. 2 levels, office up front, gable roofs, large swimming pool. Anyway, that's the original neon sign up there. This here is the Nob Hill Monte Vista Firehouse. And that building there is the American Legion building. 1936, Pueblo's Spanish style revival design, white stucco building, adobe, timber vigas coming out of the roof line. It's called the Little Chief Drive-In Cafe. Little stucco style building, arch parapets, overlaying diamonds along the roof line. Great looking neon sign up front. Little Chief on top. Been torn down, replaced by this building right here across from me. We got the Astro Zombies. Here's a better look at Astro Zombies. This site of Schroeder Drugs, dating back to 1937. Great example of our streamlined Art Moderne architecture, rounded corners, large windows, diagonal entrance under the round canopy. West from Astro Zombies on Route 66, 1940s. We have Schroeder's. It's the Lobo business section of Nob Hill. Across Richmond is the New Mexico State Bank. The building across the street on the corner is a Pantheon restaurant with its vertical neon sign. Next door to that's a liquor store, and then the famous Lobo Theater. Here we have our beautiful Lobo Theater. Opened in 1938, listed in the National Register Historic Places. So back in 1931, this is the location of Mac's Iceberg Cafe, home of the original frozen custard. The cafe looked like an iceberg, became a destination on Route 66. In 1938, they physically picked up the building, moved it to East Albuquerque. The same year, the Lobo Theater here opened up. Concerts and movies listed on the marquee back then. Go Chase Yourself. 1938 comedy crime starring Joe Penner and Lucille Ball about 3 bank robbers on a wild goose chase. And we made it to the end. Nob Hill. That's our western gateway arch. This is called the Triangle. Some people call it the Bermuda Triangle. Anyway, big crossroads here between Route 66, Girard Boulevard, and Monte Vista. Back in 1950s, here's our triangle. Got the Triangle Cafe on the left, Pegway Standard Station in the middle, Joe Lobo's, or Lobo Joe's on the far end. This is the Triangle Park Police Substation. This is one of our old Valentine diners. Our little portable prefabricated restaurant, shaped like a rail car. Easily pick this up, move it around, and reassemble it. You find them all up and down Route 66. an Americana. Anyway, it used to be called the Little House Cafe on 8th Street down downtown Albuquerque, but closed down. They moved it up here as a little substation. Street where the Bosque restaurant there is, that was called Lobo Joe's, opened in 1959. Neon sign up front said Lobo Drive-In Restaurant, Lobo Joe's. Anyway, that's the tour of Nob Hill out here in Albuquerque. We're in the town of Los Lunas, New Mexico. This is our original 1926 alignment. Coming out of Albuquerque, you want to head down 4th Street, which is the 1926 Santa Fe Loop. It kind of meanders over the Rio Grande River, then heads down to a little town called Isleta Pueblo. You cross over the Rio Grande again to Valencia and Peralta, and that kind of sets you right about here on the east side of Los Lunas Ridge. Los Lunas, New Mexico. Historic South Route 66. Here we have Route 66 from 1926. It's called New Mexico 6, or Main Street through town. We're at the Rio Grande River. Rio Grande River. Rio Grande. Anyway, 1852, this place became an American field post run by Captain Richard Ewell. And you know him as a Confederate general in the Civil War under Stonewall Jackson and Robert E. Lee. 1882, the railroad came through, built a train depot here. 1926, of course, our Route 66 came right across, following the National Old Trails. We're going to pull in here and I'll tell you about this little building here. It's called L&H Mercantile, or the Huning Mercantile. Opened in 1860 as the L&H Mercantile, sold products to farmers, ranchers, travelers on Route 66. 1888, it was renamed the Huning Mercantile. Wood frame building, floor-to-ceiling windows up front, huge wooden facade. Used to read Huning Mercantile Company, Standard Oil Products, Dry Goods, Groceries, Hardware, and Lumber. Right here was the site of the 1913 county courthouse. Now it's called Quest Diagnostic. 2-story red brick, hip roof building. That was torn down in the 1950s. And just on the corner up here, this was Climaco Ugueri's service station. Sold tires and batteries. He also served as the town's clerk. And here he is here, Climaco, with his dog Fifi. That's right here at the little center here. Hey, we have our beautiful water tower, Los Lunas, and the railroad tracks. And this road here is called New Mexico 314. And that came in 1931. Served as the new Route 66 alignment all the way up from Albuquerque, all along the El Camino Real, and that was so we didn't have to crisscross over the Rio Grande River 3 times to get down here. Anyway, right here we used to have 2 gas stations here. Only one remains, this one here, the little Route 66 smoke shop. And that's the historic Otero Phillips service station, listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Dates back to 1923. Here's our Phillips service station. Right here, the smoke shop. Anyway, a little cottage style design to blend in with the community. Super successful station. It's right on the crossroads here. 1931 Route 66 and the 1926 Route 66. And next door, that Blake's right there, Blake's Lotaburger. That used to be Meista's Golf Station. Old Route 66 station, 1-story, tile-gabled roof over the office and garage. Had a huge, thick canopy running over the gas pump islands. Next door, we got this building here. It's called the Old White Cafe. Built in 1922. Opened as the White Hotel by Miss P. Romero. When a fire destroyed the hotel back in 1928, then it was rebuilt. And this Greek restaurant cafe was put here. It's got this place called Wild West Pickles. And that was established in 2010. Sweet Garden. Our busy road here is called the pre-1937 alignment of Route 66. This huge mansion here is called the Luna Otero Mansion, listed in the National Register of Historic Places, built in 1881, is a gift from the AT&SF Railroad to the Otero Luna family in exchange for granting them railroad right away through town. It's got this older hacienda, was torn down, and then they're given $13,000 by the railroad to build this beautiful mansion. Little Victorian, Southern, colonial style with adobe bricks. Hey, today we just left the town of Los Lunas, New Mexico. On Route 66, we're headed westbound. Abandoned ghost town called Suwannee, about 30 miles up the road here. This is our 1926 alignment, and it kept that position until 1937 when the new Laguna Cut came over from Albuquerque to Laguna Pueblo over that Rio Pecos River. So there's nothing really to see out here. I'm going to call this the Lost Roads of Route 66. Now this little turnout road right in front of Amazon, this is sort of like our old Route 66, and it heads here, goes all the way back around the back of Amazon, and then heads to the left here, matches up again with our paved road. So right up ahead this section, we got the new train right there. We have a little wash with some guardrails. If we look to the left, if we're lucky, we'll see a old abutment. See that right there? It's our old abutment there. It's for the bridge. It predates Route 66 right there. Holy smokes. Now that is really pretty bitchin' to see. Right there. It's our old road. Wow, this is pretty incredible. Here's where we came down to that first washed out bridge area. This here is our Route 66. Right in the middle of nowhere. Here's the new road here. Got the railroad tracks to the south. And this road, of course, it was built here long before Route 66 and then paved with this gravelly kind of coating here, all mixed in. You can even see the white stripes in the road right here. Yellow stripes as we come up to the bridge. It's washed out. Here we go. This is our little abutment. This thing is just amazing. Our bridge has spanned right over this wash area. Anyway, we got this great adobe bricks all lined up here. It's amazing these guys can last so long. The ghost town of Suwannee, New Mexico. Holy smokes. It's a ghost town. Here's the new road, Highway 6. That's Route 66. Heads down to Los Lunas, about 20 miles that way. And forward, if you go this way, you hit Laguna Pueblo. So this area right about here, okay, on the north side of the railroad tracks, there was a post office up here. It's no longer here. On the south side was a railroad depot. Route 66 came by in 1926 along the old National Trails Road. And in 1937 it was all bypassed by that road from Albuquerque to Laguna Pueblo. So we're gonna head a little further because we got some nice ruins way up there. Hey, we got a big crossroads here. This is Highway 6, our 1926 road, coming up this way, and then it makes a big left-hand turn down Sparrow Hawk Road right here. It's our 1926 Route 66 headed that way. On the right, this road here, this is our original 1937 alignment, headed out over the Laguna Cut from Albuquerque. This road right here, and today you see way up there, that's the new highway. And this whole section here, big crossroads, we had a lot of cool stuff going on here. It's called Carwell, essentially. Oh, we got the Highland Meadows Riding Club. This sign right here is full of a bunch of bullet holes. People using a little bit of practice. Our road, this little section here, Well, not much is left. You can see we've got a series of small homes up this way, and service stations, supply markets, abandoned service station right here. Had a Gulf type canopy angled upwards over the pump islands. That's a disaster. Anyway, here's our old gas station. So the pumps would have been right out here in front. Here's a structure where the canopy would be basically right above me, right here. Here's our store, but here's all the rubble, what's left. Anyway, maybe it burned down because look at all that mumbo jumbo ash. And here's all the trash all piled up here. More old abandoned stuff here. We got some tires. So headed out here about 3 miles, it dead ends up at Interstate 40, and that's where you're going to find the Rio Pecos Bridge pit stop 66 restaurant, the home of the famous Laguna Burger. Here's our beautiful bridge looking westbound. This road here is a 1937 alignment of Route 66. It used to be a dirt road. It's called the Laguna Cut. Before 1937, you had to take the 1926 original Route 66 from Albuquerque all the way southbound out here. We're going to walk across our beautiful bridge here. I'll show you a photograph from 1950 looking eastbound. See how the truss here is fit out with lower squared off cross beams. It's only 13 feet 8 inches tall. You also see a single guardrail along the sides of the deck. And all the way back behind the bridge is an old Skelly service station. That's where Route 66 pit stop is today. And on the right, or the south side, there's a second steel stringer bridge. Single span was also erected. Anyway, that smaller bridge was removed in 1960 when Interstate 40 came by. And our bridge here, see this rail here? It's all new. Used to be that concrete sort of lattice block bridge coming up. It's 330 feet long, and the approach here was 40 feet. And the approach was our Portland concrete cement as it came up here. And of course it was dirt before it was cement. And the truss was remodeled here in 1957, and that crossbeam here was converted to this angle structure to allow higher vehicles to get through. And this here is metal mesh here. This is all new. This used to be all that concrete barrier. So the guardrail and this mesh to protect the bridge. So we turned around. We're headed westbound on our little road here. And up ahead you even see some of the yellow paint still in the road. Anyway, this is a kind of a ramshackle condition today. So Route 66 goes over that bridge there. That's our 1926 alignment. That's our Sparrowhawk Road. Here we go, that's our yellow paint right there. Well, here we go, over the 1926 ramshackle bridge on our old Route 66. Here we go. Isn't that beautiful? Little steel railing there. Right here was the old post office from 1938 to 1945. Yep, this is our bumpy road. So I think you need all-wheel drive to get through 5 miles of this. Already got our original pavement, little asphalt there. Here we go. So this is our 1926 road. Hey, we've got a beautiful bridge. Little timber spiked guardrail on the side here. Fantastic. This guy's really old. It's all falling apart. Timber held up bridges with the spans underneath. Here's what you get on this old road, all these potholes. So a couple sections are good, but most of it just a bunch of holes in the road. Uh-oh. Looks like our road is blocked off here. Well, we made it across to the other side. Had to go down this little dirt bypass area, but I wouldn't do it unless you have four-wheel drive and high clearance. Hey, well, it looks like we made it. There's I-40. We're going to loop around to the frontage road on the way to Mesita Road. So we go over the freeway to Mesita, home of Al Rock and Dead Man's Curve. It's a small village on the Laguna Reservation, a little south of Laguna Pueblo. Anyways, this section here, Route 66, is mostly buried under I-40. Now to the east, that giant mesa there, that's called Mesa Gigante, right out there, because it's so giant. Now this road here is called Old Route 66 and Pheasant Road. And Route 66 comes off of Interstate 40, merges right back onto this road. Right here becomes Old Route 66 once again. Just around the bend, there we go. That's called Al Rock. We're gonna get out of the car and take a really nice look at this beautiful structure. Hey, check out these beautiful red sandstone mesas all around us. Holy smokes. This is our Route 66 1926 alignment, and this is Al Rock. He's our natural wonder of New Mexico out here on Route 66. He's 20 feet tall, sandstone formation. He gets his name because he kind of looks like an owl. Anyway, our 1926 road, it curves to the right out to Dead Man's Corner. We got this big, long row of basaltic lava. Flowed down and dried up. But that Dead Man's Curve was so tricky. 1932, they built a cut right in the middle here up by I-40. So you used to kind of go straight across to avoid Dead Man's Curve. And here's an old postcard from 1940. It shows Al Rock in the 1932 two-lane alignment headed directly through the cut in the mesa. It's beautiful. Red sandstone. Look at that. These mesas. Here we go. Headed up to Dead Man's Curve. It's like a 270-degree turn. A truck right there. Okay. Didn't survive. Here we go. Dead Man's Curve. Here we go. Don't fall off the road. Anyway, this is gnarly. Look at that. All the way around. Holy smokes, all these cars would wipe out on the right. That's it, our famous Dead Man's Curve, and we better look at our little lava flow here. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, well that's the end of Al Rock and Dead Man's Curve out in Mesita, New Mexico. We're headed out to the beautiful Indian village of Laguna Pueblo. Hey, today we're on Route 66 in New Mexico. Right out here, Route 66. Down this way, that's our Navajo village of Laguna Pueblo. Way down there, this is all juniper cypress trees. So you cannot do video taping or cameras inside the Pueblo. It's against the rules. So I'll give you a view from here, which is going to be your best vantage point. Route 66 runs all along the left here, around the village, back around to Grant and some other towns like McCarty's. This is our Indian Arts Center. It's a great little Navajo shop, lots of jewelry and knickknacks you can buy. And up here you buy your fry bread. Here we have our fry bread here. Right there, it's $6. This is cinnamon, but they have honey and red hot chili and all sorts of sugary flavors. Let's give it a shot. See how she tastes today. Man, look at that beautiful, beautiful bread. Here we are, 1926. We just left the town of Laguna Pueblo and New Laguna. We're headed through Paraje. And all along this road here, Route 66 kind of meanders back and forth along the current road today. Sometimes it's right over there on the bike path. And sometimes you have these little cutout roads on the right where it kind of goes up and down. We're headed up to a place called Budville in Cuervo. And Budville is known as Bloodville on Route 66 because we got some murders that took place out there. And this is the town of Paraje. We're going to go straight. I'll kind of show you how this works a little bit. It's called Acorn Road. A little dirt road right up there by those old relics. So that's Route 66. It kind of looped up there. And it comes back down right here, that road. There we go. Here's our church right here. And just ahead on the right is the old abandoned Budville trading post. Here's our first building of Budville, the Budville trading post. Beautiful adobe structure, all squared off, a little step down parapet there on the top. Hey, right up here on the left, that's the Budville trading post, built in 1928, and that's where Bud Rice got murdered. We have some old relic building here, and lots of old cabins on the left. So I'll tell you the story of the murder of Bud Rice along the way. It's the evening of Friday, November 18, 1967. Both Bud Rice and his 82-year-old clerk Blanche Brown were murdered here. The murderer, he stopped to fill up gas. While Bud was pumping the gas, the stranger entered the store to buy some cigarettes. Then he and Blanche began to argue. Bud came in, started the fight with the guy. He pulled out a 9mm, pointed it right at Bud. Anyway, 5 shots were fired, killing both Bud and Blanche. Case went cold. Later, 3 convicted criminals made a plea bargain to snitch on the real killer. And he was Billy Ray White, age 26. He was trying to steal the tens of thousands of dollars Bud had reported had hidden in the store. And here's the Budville Trading Company building, built in 1928. Hip roof building, empty gas pump island right in front. We've got Budville Trading Company and neon lights right on the top there. Hip roof on top and great neon sign, Budville. Let's see if we take a peek inside. So here are the pump islands. Right here you pull up on Route 66 and fill up with your gas and go in the store and buy your cigarettes and I guess rob the place. Now just after Budville here, the road forks, goes straight or to the right. If you go right, you head up 1926 original road here to a town called Cuervo. Nothing's there anymore, no more Route 66 relics, but you find an old cemetery and Our Lady of the Light Church. And all the businesses that were up here moved down to this road that was built in 1937, called the Cuervo Cutoff. On the corner is a little bar called Dixie. Here we have the Dixie, established in 1936. Dixie Trading Post and Cabins lies on the left. Great neon signs up front, sort of shaped like the letter J with an arrow at the bottom. Gas for less, curios. Had 3 gas pumps up front, no canopy, flat roof, sold groceries, curios, rugs, jewelry, and pottery. It's called the Dixie Tavern. Cabins, cafe, Indian handmade jewelry, rugs and curios. Little extra canopy held up by concrete columns, flared at the top. Also sold cold pop and beer, meals, lunches, sandwiches. Had an air motor windmill, model 702 in the back. Today we just have this long looking steel roofed, I don't know, maybe aluminum up there, kind of single level gabled building. And just over the bridge, we have King's Cafe and Bar right here. It's from the 1950s, I think. I think it's a lot earlier. Got that cool little arrow neon sign right up there. It's all closed down, adobe style structure. A little light tan paint. Probably looks exactly the same as it did in the heydays. This whole area here is called the Gottlieb Complex, founded by Sidney Gottlieb. He moved it here in 1937. Used to have a place up in Cuervo. It's cut off at that little 1926 road. Anyway, had trading post, gas station, cafe, store, cabins. It's called the Via de Cubero trading post here. The current building here looks a lot the same. Spanish Revival, mirror-like symmetry, hipped corners, turret structures on the roof there. In the back here we have our cabins. Right back here, advertised as a modern auto court, cafe, curios, general merchandise, gateway to Akuma, deluxe tourist courts, tile showers, modern convenience restaurant, long distance phones. So some people say Ernest Hemingway stayed here in 1952 when he wrote some chapters of The Old Man and the Sea. So other famous people, celebrities stayed here. Robert Oppenheimer, Dennis Morgan, Bruce Cabot shot some scenes from the 1943 musical Desert Song. Anyway, Vivian Vance from I Love Lucy, she owned a ranch up here. And Lucille Ball, we visit a lot. Story of our little trading post. And across the street, that's a Cubero Cafe. Used to be the home of Swell Eats, run by Mary Gunn. Also, that's where Ernest Hemingway, he ate his meals out there. It was a lot different, had little columns up front and a adobe sort of rooftop hanging out the back and Spanish tiled roof. So this little guardrail here outside of that little trading post on the right, head up a little more, we can find a little slab of Route 66 out here as it came back from Cubero. Right there, see that little road right there? So that road, 1926, headed out to Cubero that way, and it was bypassed by our new road in 1937. There you go. That's all that's left up here too. This little ruined out structure, that's the Mount Taylor Motel. See, it says office right above the window there. Anyway, dates back to the mid-1940s. This old relic here, falling apart. This is what's left of the Cerritos trading post. Original building was a Spanish adobe revival, stucco with wood timbers coming out of the roof line. Sold mobile gas, Indian curios. Had a large drive-through canopy over the gas pumps. In the building we have today, see this? It's all been walled off over the canopy that's on top there. That's got a bunch of graffiti all over it. You see some ghost signs here. Mobile gas, Indian curios. Welcome to San Fidel. We're gonna pull over right here. I'm gonna tell you about this little story here. This whole area here, it's all abandoned now. It used to be called the San Fidel Camp. It's the only campsite in town. Had grocery stores, a San Fidel Texaco station, and the American lunchroom, they called it. You get a campsite here for 25 cents, a full cabin for $1. Owned and operated by Roscoe Rice. That was the father of Bud Rice, who was murdered up in Budville in 1967 at the Budville trading station. He's still here. It's called the Zodiac Bar. Discount liquor drive up. Called Zodi's Grill right there. Anyway, old neon sign up front, gable roof, columns in front holding the canopy. Next door, this is an old Texaco station. Right now it looks like a residence, and up there we have our Texaco sign. Used to have the star right there, San Fidel, New Mexico, trading post, Route 66. On the back is our Zia Sun, still here, there we go, right there. Across the street, this is a Akuma Curio Shop trading post. Built in 1916, listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It's our classic 1920s Route 66 shop. It specializes in American handicrafts, adobe structure, false wood front there. It started as a general merchandise store by a Lebanese immigrant named Abdul Habib Fidel. Then it switched to selling native arts and crafts, and the business grew in the 1930s. Across Route 66 right here, this is called the Tafoya Cafe. This building says cafe right there on the sign. First opened in the 1940s as the Akuma Cafe by a chef from the Atchison Topeka Santa Fe Railroad. And up here on the left is an old garage. Our garage here, it's called the White Arrow Garage. Dates back to the 1940s. It's all falling apart, but it's holding up. So garage is written right on the side there. Anyway, it looks like somebody still uses it. It's the home of Mr. Fidel and his family. They lived right here. I don't know what all that ghost sign stuff is. It says garage. This is our really cool neon sign. Right up there it says Whiting Brothers. Well, it used to say that. And then Motel Groceries. And an arrow pointing to over here. This is the location of the motel and the groceries on this foundation here. No longer here. Burned down in the 1990s. But you get all the footing and the foundation, everything else. This is our Whiting Brothers gas station, service station right here. Anyway, see that? It fell down, sticking across that big board. That says Whiting Brothers right there. See the W-I-T-I? Anyway, that hung across the canopy. Take a different look here from this side, which looks like today. So she's falling apart. Once a great little gas station. This building here is the Chief's Rancho Cafe, serving our Whiting Brothers motel and service station. Now this road here is New Mexico 124. It's labeled Route 66, but the real Route 66 is actually out here to the south a bit more, but this is the new road we know today. So right off Santa Maria Road, I said San Mateo, it's Santa Maria. This little strip of road there, right there, that's Route 66. And it heads out this way, we'll catch it on the other side. A little gravel road just right here on the left. This one will head down there and show you Route 66. What it used to look like 100 years ago. Oh my goodness. Anyway, that's what it looks like today. And you know what? It probably looked exactly the same because it was never paved here. Always just this dirt road. This is the Santa Maria de Cuma Church and Mission, built in 1933. Simple stone building, classic Spanish colonial style, timber beams coming off the roof line. 2 square towers and a flat roof. The parish hall is a flat structure along the side. That was constructed in 1969. Overlooks the railroad and the river down to the south. Here we are looking north from the mission, down at the river and the railroad tracks, right down here. Route 66 heads right along the tracks. So there's a little train trestle. We're going to check out that little opening underneath that bridge there. Hey, this little underpass here, built in 1935 as part of the FDR New Deal Works program, heads underneath our AT and SF Railroad right here. And then a year later, Route 66 was a line through here, 1936. About 100 yards up here, we're going to turn right down a little dirty road. Just before the DQ sign, this dirt road here, kind of gravelly now. We're going to head down here. We're going to go through a little wash under Interstate 40. See if we can make it under here. We're going to check out an old bridge on the other side. It's an old wooden bridge, 1-lane timber. And a little mystery here, but a lot of historians, they think this bridge is part of the 1926 alignment coming out of McCarty. Fantastic. Some people drive over it today. Looks like it's all coated with creosote or burned down right here. Holy smokes. This bridge predates Route 66. Here we have our beautiful bridge from underneath. Holy moly, look at that. Fantastic. All right, we got a beautiful bridge right here going across the San Jose River. I'm gonna roll down my window. It's so nice. There we go. This here It's our steel pony bridge. There's a little marker there. 1936. It's a steel pony single span camelback bridge. Hey, today we're on Route 66, a place called Grants, New Mexico. You start your tour here. This is called the Sky City Travel Center. On my left, the south, that's Interstate 40. Route 66 heads this way, all the way up through Grants. This whole area is called Horace, next to Horace Springs. At the base of Horace Mesa, we have here, this guy was one of our old Stuckey's restaurants, opened in 1967 by Hope and Frank McClure. Just past our Stuckey's, come across this little gate here, and this gate leads on a trail out to a bridge way out there, and that bridge is part of our Route 66 coming up through Grants here. It's called the Old Railroad Grade, abandoned in the 1900s. This is the first alignment of Route 66 in 1926, and it heads over a mysterious one-lane, three-span timber stringer bridge with concrete piers and abutments. This is the Great Sahara Drive-In Theater, right out here. Opened in 1958 by Mr. J.C. West. Accommodated 400 cars and closed in 1964. Beautiful neon sign here. Those diagonal poles. Used to say Sahara right on the top. Here's an old photo. It's playing The Law and Jake Wade, 1958, starring Robert Taylor, and The Burning Hills, double feature, 1956, starring Tab Hunter and Natalie Wood. And this here is the famous Canton Cafe on Santa Fe Road, which is our Route 66. The Canton Cafe opened in 1960s when the town of Grants began expanding east. It's a simple one-story diner, covered entry, beautiful neon Chinese sign up front. Right there, all those beautiful Chinese characters. Says Canton Cafe Chinese American. Hey, we're gonna take a little loop around Leisure Lodge Motel. So anyway, used to be a travel lodge, 2 stories, L-shaped motel, swimming pool right up front, right there, still there. Used to have that travel lodge, sleeping, walking bear sign on the corner. Advertised Grant's newest motor hotel. Our historic Route 66 motel. This guy started out as a Western host motel, and it's all burned out today. It's a U-shaped layout. Anyway, 1 story on the wing here, and we got 2 stories along the back, and then 1 story again. Had a fire. Holy smokes. Here we have the Desert Sun Motel. What's left of it. Go inside this one. Here we go, Bronco windows, and little canopy over the office. Desert Sun. Anyway, it looks kind of dangerous. A lot of broken glass. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Anyway, Desert Sun Motel right here. 1 story, U-shaped layout, gabled roof, situated around this whole courtyard here. By 1960, the pool was filled in up front, made into a little grass seating area. Anyway, later the fancy sign was replaced by this kind of boring Desert Sun yellow sign here. And an arsonist burned this place down in 2022. This here, anyway, this was the Franciscan Lodge. Completed in 1950, 1-story T-shaped layout with the office and cafe in the center. Even had heated private garages. Advertised, this beautiful new motel offers unsurpassed accommodation in large, comfortable rooms. Anyway, had brick pillars right in front. Up here, that was part of the original office. Across the street, this is the Southwest Motel. Originally called the Lariat Motel, built in the 1950s. Anyway, single story, U-shaped, gable roofed, had 24 accommodated Beautiful, comfortable rooms here, attractive units with the finest furnishings. So the new motel here looks a lot the same as in the old days, except the gabled roof here is a little different color. Over here we have the sands. Right here, see that little arrow sign? Follow that beautiful arrow sign down MacArthur here. You get to the Sands Motel. Still open today. Offered modern, new carpeted rooms, restaurant, cocktail lounge, service station, free TVs, telephones in all the rooms, quiet, relaxing, and off the highway. Anyways, beautiful, beautiful renovation they did here. This Grant's Cafe and Cocktail Lounge opened in 1937. Still standing, unchanged. You see the original building behind the sign here for Crosby's Standard Station. Across the street, transmission shop here started out as Grant's Motor Lodge. Dates back to 1930s. 16 rooms, U-shaped adobe box style structure. The office was centered right up front. Offered wall-to-wall carpeting, ranch style furniture, inner spring mattresses. This building here is El Cafecito. Right there, 1960s, is called the Doherty Cafeteria. A few years later became the Starlight Cafeteria, open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. Used to have a fancy neon sign on the left corner, a bright red star on top. The entrance at the front of the building led you to the bar, and the side door led you to the dining area. Also had dancing area, opened up Friday, Saturday. And a fire broke out in 1982 and gutted the restaurant, so looks a lot different today. That was a B&B Gulf service station owned by Pino Brito. He offered complete auto service. He's got that little guy right up on top there. This white building with the blue trim, that started out as Luna Court in 1940. Had a mobile station attached to it on the corner at Charles Street. It's cool looking gas pumps with the Pegasus logo. Little Pegasus sign in front, and even sold groceries here at this Luna Court. Then later became the Lava Land Motel. It had an L-shaped layout on the corner. It's all been boarded up, but now it's called M&R Appliance Repair. Anyway, the sign right there, see, says Lava Land Motel right in the corner there. Hey, this is the Hillcrest Center, O'Reilly Auto Parts, established in the 1950s, and this was the first shopping mall out in Grants. Still here after 70 years. The entrance used to have a V-shaped roof right above where it says E-all there. And nice Route 66 fancy sign. Included barbers, U.S. Post Office, a market, a few other shops and businesses. This is the oldest mall here out in Grants. This Pizza Hut right by Hillcrest, that's the side of the Hotel Woodward, built in 1916. It's a two-story large parapet facade extending across the front reading 1916 Hotel Woodward. It burned down in the 1930s, was replaced with the California Hotel and Cafe. That opened in 1938. Proclaimed your best stop between Albuquerque and Gallup. Modern rooms and tasty food. Spanish adobe revival style, wooden timber, vigas from the roof line, fancy vertical sign up front. This vacant lot here by Allsup's is the old railroad depot right here. Here we have the West Theater, opened in 1959, named after J.C. West. He also owned the Sahara Drive-In Theater down the east end of town. The West Theater, it's basically unchanged for over 65 years. Square brick building, triangle-shaped marquee, great neon sign on top with a star. Here we have our great Roaring 20 sign. Beautiful neon sign, used to glow up. And this whole vacant lot, that was the site of Grant's Super Service Garage Station, no longer here of course. And right at the corner, that was the Red Ball Garage, right next to the Roaring 20 sign. And the building across the street, this kind of gabled roof, simple building on 3rd Street. It's called Serenade Music Company. That was the original newspaper called Grant's Beacon. That closed in 1990. And next to the Beacon, this building here, that's Pat's Lounge and Bar. Old photo from 1951 parade shows the 3 locations here in the Grant Centennial edition of the Daily Beacon. We've got the Red Ball Garage on the right, Grant's Beacon in the center, and Pat's Lounge on the left. And sometime around 1960, the Red Ball Garage closed down, replaced by the Sunshine Cafe Bar and Dance Hall. This large open room restaurant, individual tables, dark wood-like decor. Up ahead on the south side of Route 66, right about here, the site of the Pueblo Court. Started in the 1930s as Allen's Camp and later became Pueblo Courts. On the corner was a decaying neon sign on a steel pole. Advertised modern units, clean, comfortable, located in the center of town. This place here called Fig Pen Investments. That beautiful neon sign. That's the side of the Zia Motel, originally called the Zia Court from the 1930s. TV, carpeting, reasonable commercial rates. The neon sign in front has changed over the years. 1930s it was Zia Court, the long steel pole. Later it was a circle with the name Zia after the Zia sun symbol, and the word motel underneath, and later a flashing neon arrow was added on top. So on the south side of Route 66, right by the river, we got a few things going on here, but no longer here. This building was the Uranium Cafe, opened by Eugene Wu in 1956. It's a Chinese-American restaurant. Courteous, prompt service, open 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. The popular dish was a tasty uranium burger, only 45 cents. The building on the right, looks like it's been changed a lot too. Had 2 things going on with it. On the left was Grant's Main Street Project. It's a hardware store, sold paints. And on the right was an old post office before it moved up the street at 523 West Santa Fe and later to Gold Avenue. This is the Chamber of Commerce and Mining Museum out here in Grants. And presumably, this is the only simulated uranium mining museum in the world. The museum, it recreates the life of uranium miners and their legacy in Grants. Right in front of our museum, we have all these beautiful satellite discs, and they're decorated here with native basket array from the Jacarea Apache Indians used to reside here. Oh boy, this is our Grants Route 66 drive-through sign. It's a classic stop here for all travelers coming into Grants. 18-foot tall little gateway shaped like a US Route 66 shield, and the whole thing lights up at night. It's a real famous building here called the KB Photography Monte Carlo building, established in the 1940s. So after returning from the war, the owner, he opened this cafe just in time for the uranium boom out here in Grants. Anyway, the building here looks pretty much identical. 2-story, squared off corners, upper windows look the same. Up ahead we have a few historic buildings. This guy here is called Countless Treasures Indoor Flea Market, but this guy is beautiful, called the Lux Theater, opened in 1937. Seated 518 patrons and then shut down in the 1980s. And here's the old outlet for the Grant State Bank. You see right up there. They've moved down the road, but today it's a Remax Theater. And here, right in this open handicap parking area, that used to be Carradine's Drug Company, pharmacy and drug store. That became an arts and crafts store, but torn down, no longer here. Anyway, this building here used to be called the Stockman Store. Used to be Graham's Jewelers in the old days. And here's what it looked like in the 1950s. We have Graham's Jewelers on the corner, Carradine Drug Company, Grant State Bank, and the Lux Theater. This beautiful building here is called the Hollywood Diner. Built around 1950, cafe was a modified version of one of our portable Valentine diners you see up and down Route 66. This is the double deluxe version. Included 10 stools, 7 booths, for a total of 36 customers at a time. That's neat. This guy here, he's great looking. It's an Andee's Phillips 66 service station. Classic rock frame building. Of course, it looks a lot different today. Has large plate glass slanted windows. That helped reduce the glare from the headlights increase more visibility to customers, add more indoor light. Used to have block letters, Phillips 66 above the office, Endee 66 service painted above the garage. This whole vacant lot on the side of Stockman's is a famous yucca hotel. It's built in 1920s. Started as white stucco, Pueblo style, 2-story hotel, curved parapet, cafeteria on the left, giant yucca flag on top. Later it added the yucca barbershop to the rooms on the right. In this photograph looking east down Route 66, we have the hotel cocktail lounges on the left, then the combined cafe and Greyhound bus stop, hotel with its neon sign. Next is Graham's Jewelers, established around 1930. Vacant lot next to our yucca. This was the White Arrow garage, no longer here. Built in the 1920s, had a giant white arrow in front. Adobe style garage, sold Standard Oil, pair of pump islands, a standalone canopy. Anyway, even had its own White Arrow service truck, the towing crane on the back. Right here, this vacant lot area, next to our rock frame Phillips there. This was the Sturgis Supermarket. Began as Simon Bibo Mercantile in 1881, then 1921 became the Bernalillo Mercantile, barn-shaped warehouse with Bernalillo Mercantile inscribed on the side. In 1945 became Bond Gunderson. 1953 became Gladen's Supermarket. Long gabled roof, barn warehouse style brick building, monument sort of in the center there, and Gladen's Supermarket sign across the facade. 1957 it became the Sturgis Supermarket. Anyway, here's another view looking east. Around 1960 we have the White Arrow, or the Conley Fort on the left there, then the Yucca Hotel further down, and finally the Lux Theater. And on the south side we have our giant Sturgis Supermarket. And up ahead, this is a beautiful location. Used to have 5 separate buildings here, founded by Charlie Diaz, listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So the building on the right under the Shell sign here, that's the old Star Cafe, opened in 1949, served its last meal in 1985. Building on the left here says Charlie's Service. Anyway, there's 2 bay doors right in front that served as a main garage, sold mobile gas, offered full service, had 2 gas pump islands right in front, and a pole was a trademark Mobile Gas Pegasus sign. Beautiful building. Anyway, also Charlie's Auto Service written on the front facade. We're headed into a little town called Milan, which is really part of Grants as well. This is a 1937 alignment, and the real 1926 road is way out there on the left, called the Uranium Road, and that heads out of Grants and then merges up here with our 1937 road. A real famous place called the Green Goose Drive-In Restaurant. Iconic sign over the 1950s restaurant, originally called the Charco's, but later became the popular Green Goose Drive-In, known as the place where pirates and flatheads meet. Pirates was the name of the local high school team, and Flatheads just refers to the old popular Route 66 cruisers. So now we're on East Street and Uranium Avenue, going down East Street. This whole site right here was the Trails Drive-In Theater, right in this whole boxed area. We're going to drive around the blocks. Anyway, from the aerial view, you can see the whole layout. Small concession building, camera booth right in the center there. And a single screen on the southeast corner. Ticket booth was way up in the upper northwest corner. Way up there is the ticket booth. The Trails Drive-In was part of the J.C. West network of theaters around Grants that included the West Theater, Sahara Drive-In, and the Lux Theater. And the original sign had a pretty simple look. Here we have The Toughest Man Alive, starring Dane Clark and Ralph Milan, 1955. So right about here on the corner, this is where the screen was. Right here, there's nothing left. Anyway, later they added a terrific Googie style space age neon sign, and a double feature here with Saskatchewan, 1954, and Terror in a Texas Town, 1958. This whole area here at Dollar General and this ruined out building here, it's the site of the Lost Canyon Trading Post, opened in 1946 by Herman Atkinson and his wife Phyllis. So the Trading Post was a 1-story flat roof building, canopy over the gas pump island and smaller adjunct building on the right. Their main business was selling Texaco gas, curios, merchandise, Kodak film. And on the left, this building right here is a little extra attraction. It's called the Den of Death. Anyway, it had lots of snakes. We had 2 giant boa constrictors in a cage. Anyway, they built a larger reptile house and added more snakes, called it the House of Cobras. Charged admission, expanded further, added more cobras, pythons, rattlesnakes, even anacondas. So the trading post was rebranded as Cobra Gardens. In the early 1950s, the interstate came by, bypassing the town, and the owners sold the business in 1954, moved out to Scottsdale, Arizona. The new owners of Fig Pens, they ran it as a Cactus Gardens until they died in 1972. The next owners, the Smiths, they covered up the murals with a Far West theme, rebranded it as Milan Silver and Gold, selling handmade Navajo jewelry, silver supplies, various antiques. Across Route 66, we have the El Ranchero Cafe, 1950 sign right up there. It's relatively unchanged. Before it was the El Ranchero, this was the home of the Frontier Bar and restaurant dating back to the 1950s, 1960s. Original sign in the front read Frontier Bar Restaurant, made by the Xeon Sign Company in Albuquerque. Anyway, today it looks a lot the same as it did back then. That's pretty cool. This one here called Day and Night Market, opened in the 1950s. 2-story, one-stop complete food market. Open 24 hours a day. Offered tourist supplies, hardware, health and beauty products. Also had a delicatessen with big, tasty barbecue ribs. Anyway, the building looks the same as it did in Route 66 days. This here is an old gas station. It's called William Fields Chevron Standard Service Station. Established in the 1950s. We had 2 service bays with pane windows on the left, and they're filled in a little bit. But on the right's the office areas, those great big, large front windows. Got a long canopy over the pump islands and a horizontal standard chevron shield on top. This place here called Uncle Roy's. Originally this was the famous Milan Motel, built by Salvador Milan himself in 1946. 12-unit motel, log cabin style, had a semicircular layout with a central office right in the center. The set of gas pumps sat in front of the offices, and Salvador's wife, well, she ran the cafeteria. So later it grew to 20 units, some with kitchenettes, tiled bathrooms, air conditioning, combination tub and shower. Somehow, this beautiful motel survived the uranium bust and the opening of Interstate 40, but it finally closed its doors in the 1980s. This guy right here with tools on top, that's Bruce's Deep Rock Service Station, built in the 1960s. Still has a super fancy butterfly canopy wing up there on top. Sold auto and truck tires, batteries, complete lubrication, and oil changes. Office and service bays. Up here they've been all modified, but it's all torn down apparently. And up ahead we have that motel right there. It's called the Crossroads Motel. This is one of our Franciscan lodges. One in Grants, one in Bluewater. And this is the third one. We'll call it the Crossroads. Anyway, named a Franciscan 2, then the Stagecoach in the 1990s, and then today's called Crossroads. 15-room, L-shaped design, TV, carpeted, air-conditioned. Anyway, isn't that just wonderful and beautiful? Anyway, and this is called the Toltec. Anyway, called Joe's Bar right there, owned by Joe Dominguez in the 1950s, 1960s. Anyway, about 3.5 miles from Milan, just take our little Route 66 road right here. You come across the first little relic is the Bluewater Motel. Up ahead on our left, this is the beautiful Bluewater Motel and Inn. Opened in 1957. It's a third of our Franciscan lodges, built by Nestor King out in New Mexico. Well, here we go. It's our beautiful Bluewater right there. It looks like somebody lives there. Holy moly. Advertised 22 new ultra-modern units, air conditioning, wall-to-wall carpeting, ceramic tiled baths and tub and shower combinations. Telephone in every room, TVs, complete children's playground. So after uranium was discovered here in 1952, the population grew from 2,500 people to 10,000. And on the right, that was the Bluewater Inn restaurant, opened in the 1960s. Long brick, sharp eaved edges right there on the eaves. Slanted windows in front were real big and large, way on the end there. Wow, it has a chimney mounted right in the center. And on the right was the bar lounge. Used to be a sign right on top there. Served charcoal broiled steaks, seafood, deep pan fried chicken. Where dining is a pleasure. Now right up here about a quarter mile, got this building right there. It's called Allen's Garage. Opened in 1955 by John Payne. Anyway, it's a square stucco building. Single garage bay right in front there. It's flanked by smaller windows. Little stepped up parapet on top right there. Allen's Garage on the left. This guy here is Brock's Trading Post, built in the 1940s. It's a second building that formed our little trading post business out here. And the first building was out here on the eastbound lanes of our new road, so I had to tear it down and bring it over here. And that first building sat on the eastbound lanes. It was a long single-story structure with a grocery store, curio shop, living quarters, and a small Texaco station. Even had a Greyhound bus depot. So the street here was upgraded to a 4-lane in 1954. Of course, had to tear down the trading post and put up this new one right here. Used to have a flat facade up front, advertised packaged liquors and cold beer. Had a small Standard Oil station too. Probably right where this fence is we have today, so that's kind of what's left of Brock's Trading Post. This guy here is called Boland's Old Crater Trading Post. See on the wall it says Boland's right there. Listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Dates back to 1936. One of our few remaining genuine trading posts on Route 66. It sold rugs, dolls, jewelry, pottery. So the original building was a wood frame structure. First sold food and goods to the local natives, but as traffic grew on Route 66, he added more curios and tourist-related merchandise. Even had mobile gas pumps up here in 1938. So in 1954, he demolished this old store and built a new one. You see here. So just ahead, going westbound, our 4-lane converts back to our 2-lane Route 66 right here. And our last stop in Bluewater is this adobe-looking building. It's called the Rattlesnake Trading Post. We're gonna get out and take a look. Hey, this building looks absolutely fantastic. On this wall right here, used to be painted Reptile Gardens. Big green, white letters. All along the side said cafe here, and all up there it said Rattlesnake Trading Post right there. So Jake Atkinson, he purchased the store in 1945. To attract tourists, he began tying up burros to the gas pumps and staging cockfights and set up a rattlesnake den. He renamed it the Rattlesnake Trading Post. You can't see the ghost writing on the wall there. We're headed out to Pruitt. We're going westbound here on our Route 66. So Pruitt's almost a ghost town. Elevation 6,800 feet about, population 750. Now right up here you want to turn in where the post office is. We'll check out our old relics here. This guy here is the first trading post out here in Pruitt, called the Zuni Mountain Trading Post. Opened in 1947 by T.B. Anyway, after I-40 bypassed the town, the Ortegas were forced to sell Native American handicrafts, but eventually the owners died and the property was leased out, and that's just the old forgotten relic on Route 66 here. Here's a Pruitt trading post. Used to be a little more towards the back on the original 1926 road, but moved forward in 1935 when this road here straightened out. Opened in 1916, 25 by 25 foot store next to the owner's 32 by 32 foot home. Had a windmill and a water tank. Also, the local post office was here in 1928, and they sold Navajo rugs, jewelry, various curios to her. 1946, the owner sold this building to Justin and Odessa LaFont. They named it Justin's Trading Post. It's a Spanish adobe stucco building with timbers at the parapet, towing service and garage, Conoco gas, merchandise store, cafe, main house on the right. This building here on the right, that's the old Tomahawk Bar. Open truck rest area. Right here. So about this bar here, built in 1947, it's both a bar and the town's third trading post. Used to say Tomahawk on top, the bar in front, packaged liquor on the side. So here we are entering the town of Thoreau. These beautiful mesas way up there in the distance. Holy moly. You're gonna hit a stop sign. First stop sign you hit. This is Highway 371. If you head up here, we're not gonna do that today, but you head up here about a block or two, you'll get First Street. And First Street is the original 1926 road coming through here. And across the stop sign on the other side, right there, that's the side of the Red Arrow Trading Post. And that burned down in 1960. The original Red Arrow complex was in town on First Street, but moved down here in 1937. Up here, it's called Roy T. Herman's Garage and Service Station, listed in the National Register of Historic Places. Classic 1937 service station, enameled steel facade, hip canopy over the pump island right there. We got some vintage gas pumps right in front, right there. And up ahead, about almost a mile, is another trading post. And here we have our beautiful trading post. Let's take a look here. Yeah, this beautiful building here, right there. We have some old ruin spots here. It's the old Thunderbird Bar and Trading Post, built in 1947 by Bill and Charlie Bass. Kind of crumbling down. Holy smokes. Anyway, there's our Thunderbird right there. How about that? Anyway, here's what we have today. I can't tell if there's a fire in here or just falling apart. Look at the raised floor here. So here's Interstate 40. This bypasses this whole area, so all little businesses, they, go out of favor. Continental Divide, historic Route 66, 1 mile. Hey, we have our Continental Divide marker. Elevation 7,295 feet. So rainwater, if it drops here on the left, that goes out to the Pacific Ocean. And if it drops here on the right, that goes out to the Atlantic, probably the Mississippi. So I believe this site here was the original Great Divide Camp. Long Spanish adobe style building with timbers extending out of the roof line. Had a cafe, restaurant, curio shop, sold Navajo rugs and art. Also had a mobile gas Pegasus right in front. Anyway, today it's the Continental Divide Indian market, selling all sorts of really cool stuff like blankets and fireworks and Kachina dolls and t-shirts. This guy here is the Top of the World Souvenirs gift shop. This old building here, we've got this great mural on the side for a little plateau, desert scene. And here we have Continental Divide. So there's several versions of this Top of the World place right here. The oldest was Top of the World Camp, gable roof, covered porch in front, gas pump island with a small canopy. Then there was the Top of the World Hotel, along with a cafe and a curio shop, large building in back with a wall-shaped facade up front. A bar was added to the left, gas station added to the right, and signs were upgraded to newer neon signs. You can also park your airplane right in front. And today we have our Top of the World here. And I can't promise you this is the original building. Anyway, it's a huge flat lot. Right here could accommodate lots of little stores. Hey, we have our sign here, historic Route 66. begin. We're going to head over the bridge to the south side of Continental Divide. This is where you cross over Interstate 40. But up here, we have an old Stuckey's. Oh boy. World famous Stuckey's. Pecan, treats, and candy restaurant and service station. This probably opened in the 1940s. Anyway, right up front, you can see the gas pump island, I think. Used to have a great double butterfly canopy out over the gas pump islands. Right in front there. These two long poles right in front of Stuckey's, all the way up there, USA. That probably held that famous Stuckey's yellow sign. Also sold mobile gas. This is our second Continental Divide marker right there on the south side. On the right, it's old wooden canopy. It's over the pump island. Right here, it's an old gas station. Looks like a ConocoPhillips. May have been converted to a Gulf station later on, or maybe the other way around. Now we head back over I-40, and that's looking eastbound. All right, we're gonna go left here on Route 66, where it says Route 66 begins. We're gonna go left here, this station. Here we have our great neon sign up there. Whiting Brothers logo on the left, and it says Whiting Brothers Motel there. And here's our motel right here. We've got a row of connected rooms. Real simple design, gable roofs. Anyway, there's an empty pole right in front there. Used to have a neon sign on top for Whiting Brothers Motel right there. Now if you head down Route 66 this way, it's going to dead end. And then it loops around and brings you back to Continental Divide at the top of the hill. Up here on the right, these buildings here, it's a Fred Wilson trading post about 3 miles west of Continental Divide. Anyway, a group of buildings on the eastern tip of 1930s Route 66 frontage road right there. So to get back on our Route 66 frontage road, at the off-ramp, we're going to go right here. And then we're going to go left. And this is basically our 1937 alignment just ahead. Anyway, nobody ever comes down this road because it kind of dead ends and meanders way out in the boonies. But here we got a old structure here. It's vacant, graffiti, falling apart. Not sure what it is. Maybe a little store here on the crossroads. So we're going to turn around and head up this road right there to get to our 1926 road out in the boonies. This here is County Road 27. About a half mile up is the railroad tracks, and that's where we're going to find our 1926 Route 66. We pass our railroad tracks, and the first little dirt road going left, that's our Route 66. Right up here. There we go. This road, that's Route 66 right here. It's all gated off, but I'll tell you what you'd find. Hey, so this here is Route 66 from 1926 coming out of Continental Divide. Anyway, if you head about a mile down this dirt road, it's now gone, but you'd find the Crafts del Navajo trading post founded in 1926 by dress designer Burton Staples. He worked with the Navajo craftsmen and women, create and market his giant Navajo rugs. And here he is pulling back a corner of a Staples rug at his trading post. The trading post was a huge 200-foot long, 70-foot wide, styled after the Palace of Governors in Santa Fe. Single level, adobe style building with timber vigas coming out of the roofline. Large wooden poles supporting a very wide porch. It had an area dedicated to trading Indian crafts, even had a little museum. So Staples died in 1938 and the new owners kept it open even after the new 1937 alignment. Anyway, it burned down in 1955. Today, just a bunch of old rubble remains. Alright, so this is our 1937 Route 66 alignment, frontage road to Interstate 40 right there. Anyway, town of Coolidge. We have one more stop here. Right here. It's called the Old Navajo Trading Company, sometimes called the Navajo Lodge. Opened in 1936 by Merle and Daisy Muncie along the new 1937 alignment right out here. So it started out as a simple Pueblo adobe style buildings with our roofline timber vigas coming out of the walls. Dance hall on the left, cafe in the center, cabins way in the back, and a filling station right up front. So later, the new owners, they built the Navajo Trading Post, added a bar, curio shop. There's vigas sticking out of the roof line right there. Anyway, the gas pump islands were upgraded, added some new walls, new buildings too. Even had a few black bears to attract the tourists. It's called Navajo Lodge. You can stay here tonight. Out here is the town of Coolidge. Used to be a little frontage road here you could drive on, but today you have to go on Interstate 40 to the town of Perea and Wingate. Wingate's about 10 miles down. That's our next stop on Route 66. So way out here, that's the 1926 alignment, dirt road. There's a treatment plant there too. And that's where you'll find the 1926 Staples Navajo Trading Post. And that's just a big pile of rubble today. Here we have exit 36 to Eon Beto. Here we go, and about a half mile up, way out in the fields, we're gonna find a concrete bunker just sitting there. Hey, this bunker-like guy way out in the middle of nowhere, that's the Perea Trading Post, operated from 1930 to 1956. Two rectangular concrete foundations, some crumbled slabs, and the former stucco walls there. The ruins of this block-shaped building. Those are pretty much our only trading post out here in Perea. Cross over Interstate 40 at Turtle Butte Circle. Just on the other side we have a marker. This is Fort Wingate marker, established in 1862. And you find that like 3 miles down the road. Little arch entrance, and then Fort Wingate time capsule arch. This is an old West Fort, established in 1862 during the war against the Navajo, deactivated in 1911, used by Mexican asylum seekers fleeing Pancho Villa in 1914. Now just up ahead, turn left under this beautiful bridge, and here we have the Fort Wingate Army Depot, 1862. Beautiful arches here. But over here we have a monument for the Chaco Cliffs. It's pretty neat. Way up there, that place is called Pyramid Rock. Right there, little sacred rock of our local Native Americans. Way up on top of this hill, way up there, that little spike or spear hanging out, that's called Navajo Church. This whole area is called Red Shale Valley. Beautiful red and white sandstone, eroded away by wind and water. Here we make a little left-hand turn right before Gallup in this beautiful town of Rehoboth. Anyway, this is "The Lord has given us room, we shall flourish in the land." That's Genesis 26:22. Check that out, beautiful sign. We're on Route 66, right here. Best way to get here is exit I-40 on Ford Street. If you go left, which is uptown, that's to the east. We have all sorts of really cool motels. We have the Blue Spruce here, the Lariat Lodge, down there, little Christmas tree with a blue spruce. All right, the Hotel and Motel El Rancho. Look at this. This is listed on the National Register of Historic Landmarks. Really big in the movie business. A guy named D.W. Griffith. He's like a famous movie producer and director. Got this 3-story building. It's got this air of Southern appeal. Nice mansion. Built of brick, stone, and wood. It's called the Redwood Court. Jim's Modern Court. Today it's called Redwood Lodge. Listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Built in 1931. is known as Jim Doherty's Court. Eilig Myers Furniture Company. Right there, and a gas station right here too. Big canopy, but no gas station anymore. Here we have a beautiful mural. What did survive at the Y is this guy, Pete Leva's Quality Indian Jewelry and Art. This little building right there. So he dates back to at least 1952, probably a little earlier. This here is called AK's Auto Sales. Used to be called the Whiting Brothers Station on this property. It's the Gallup Sales Company for Schlitz. Big building here. Wow, look at that. Giant warehouse in the back. The roll-up doors. This building here called Professional Truck and Auto Center. Used to be a motel called the All States Court. Right here on Cole Street. This building here, the Indian Jewelry Anasazi Traders Wholesale. That guy used to be a Stocks Phillips 66 station. Here we have the New Mexico Pottery Company. Up above it says El Navajo Garage. Right here at Zuni Fetishes Direct, this property used to be a hotel called the Liberty Hotel. As far back in 1946. Anyway, it was torn down in 2012, replaced with this building. This two-story building here on the corner of Strong Street, this is a total gem. It's the Drake Hotel, listed in the National Register of Historic Places. Anyway, 1922, had Beto Buick Company, had his first sales room right down there in the bottom floor. And the second floor was the Roma Hotel, had 16 apartments, and then it became the Drake Hotel in 1922. Next to the caboose, this one here. Today this is the Gallup Cultural Center. It used to be the El Navajo Hotel back in 1946 and earlier. Our hero here, United States Marine Corps. Anyway, he's one of our great Navajos. Was a code talker, right? During World War II. This great looking building here on 1st Street and Route 66 is the Southern Hotel, the National Register of Historic Places. Two-story brick building, dates back to the early 1900s. This is the Bank Building, 1904. Hey, we got some great native art here. The train passes by. This is one of the oldest buildings in Gallup. It's called the Kitchens Opera House. Built in 1895 by Pat Kennedy and Pete Kitchen. Two-story brick building. Hosted movies, boxing matches, sports, political events, social events. This is Richardson Trading Post. It dates back to 1913. It's an old building, old business. Today Richardson owns pretty much this entire block out here. This building here used to be the Palace Hotel, listed on the Register of Historic Places. Little Richardsonian, Romanesque style. Over here is another historic hotel. It's called the Rex Hotel Museum. Right there. Beautiful neon sign. Wow. Built around 1922 or even before. Here at 4th Street and Route 66, we have some new pottery art. A great mural here. Check that out. Beautiful. Right in the D&D Motor Oil Company. Lexington Hotel. Built in 1931 in our local stone out here. Here we go. We have this one here. It's called the Lexington Hotel green sign. Right? And that's built around 1970. And the original sign was actually more like this guy here. 1931, it says established Lexington Hotel. Hey, if you head down Route 66, Lots more cool things. We got old gas stations. We have Glen's station, all sorts of goodies and beautiful signs and cool stuff. We're gonna head uptown. Hey, we got a giant muffler, man. This guy's at John's Used Cars. Hey, on Cole Street, 1 block up from Route 66, got this cool sign here. Jerry's Mexican American Food Cafe with that cool neon arrow right here at Jerry's. Hey, that was a short tour of Gallup, New Mexico. We got tons more murals, you know, historic buildings, theaters, hotels. Spent some time on Route 66 and also in the historic downtown district. Hey, we're at Route 66. We're leaving the town of Gallup, New Mexico. On our right is the old abandoned ghost town of Allison. Right here is this Red Roof Inn. And at this point, Route 66 went straight across here, the highway. And on the other side, that was the Twin Buttes Trading Post, old 1926 road, just north of the Red Roof Inn there. So right here, just outside of Gallup, a place called Mentmore, that's what we call it today. It used to be called the Village of Twin Buttes. 1946, we had the Twin Buttes Nazarene Navajo Mission, nearby gas station. That's all there is. So on the left, here's our cemetery, right here. And on the right, there's a car on a pole, right up there at that tree. Anyway, not sure why it's here. Just a little Route 66 decoration. Up here on the right, on the north, used to be some coal mines out there. The main coal mine, opened in 1913, was called the Dilko Coal Mine. It is owned by Direct Coal Company. When the post office opened, is reassigned the name of Mentmore. That's how it got the name. We don't know why. So turn left at 118, and that's what we're on right here, entering the town of Defiance. Anyway, see all this stuff here? Not much going on. Now this road here is New Mexico 118, called Rocky Point Road. This is our Route 66. We're on the south frontage road of Interstate 40. Way on the west side of Defiance, we got the bridge over the Rio Pecos here. Used to be a pre-1930s bridge built, then a 1930s bridge right here at Porco River at Big Rock Canyon. Anyway, that 1930s bridge was the first bridge for our new 2-lane road. It was a Pratt through truss bridge, and it used in the movie 1951 Ace in the Hole, starring Kirk Douglas and Jan Sterling. And it was replaced by this current bridge in 1960s. We just left Gallup in Defiance. We're headed westbound on the south frontage road. This is Route 66. This is about exit 8 from Interstate 40 way out there. You're gonna hit a little junction here. It's called Lupton Road Junction. Anyway, look at this little underpass. These wide wings here. 13 foot 6 inches. Oh my goodness. There's our beautiful train right there. Originally came through in 1882, called Ferry Station. Right here, this is the old trading post right here. Our beautiful building here, this is the Dean Kirk's Trading Post, opened in the 1940s and specialized in selling jewelry instead of just general merchandise. Then it closed in the 1950s, and the trading post that sat on the east wing of the Manuelito mission. So we continue on Route 66, we're going westbound. This whole area, this is the village of Manuelito. Anyway, here we got Surrender Canyon Road that would be on the left. Location of the former Indian Mission Church, that's gone, adobe brick. Traditional church with the bell tower. Also side of the Manuelito trading post, and that's gone. It's around here somewhere. So first trading post established here in 1881 by Mr. Brown. Hosted the local post office, and later the railroad ran right by it on our left here. Changed ownership over time by 1921. Purchased by Mike Kirk, and he's the stepfather of Dean Kirk that owned that trading post we just looked at. Anyway, this one was referred to as the Mike Kirk Trading Post, complete with a free museum Then Interstate 40 came through, bypassed the village, and the trading post closed in 1963. This here is called Devil's Cliff on Battleship Rock, because it looks like a battleship right here. So up here we got a little house and a bunch of things stored in the front. Wow, just look at this beautiful valley we have right here. This is a film site for the 1951 movie Ace in the Hole, starring Kirk Douglas and Jan Sterling. A twisted thriller about a man who's trapped in an old tourist cave after a rock slide, in that cave right out there. That's where he was trapped.
And we sat down to a little poker game and you started bothering me right in the middle of a hand.
What'd you have? A pair of deuces? This is better. Here we've got an ace in the hole.
Anyway, it's called the Old Indian Cliff Dwellings. A reporter shows up on scene, and he intentionally delays saving the man in order to get a better story.
What would the law be doing?
So eventually the victim dies, the reporter gets stabbed by the man's wife, and the other newspapers release the story first, and then our stabbed reporter, he dies from his wounds. So this photo here is looking east with the cliff and the ruins in the background. Also Route 66 running right in front of the trading post. Before the movie, the studio built a trading post. They called it Minosa Trading Post. Spanish, Pueblo-style adobe, timber vigas on the roof lines. And Route 66 ran right in front of the store. And after the movie was finished, they left the set intact. And the new owners, they used it as a tourist attraction. They called it Cliff Dwellings Trading Post. Authentic Indian jewelry. So that's this site right here. Anyway, the trading post is no longer here, of course. But we have our beautiful cave way back there for our movie Ace in the Hole. The ocean way out there. We're going to find a trading post. It's called the Box Canyon Trading Post. It's gone today, but it opened in 1943 by Leroy Atkinson and his wife Edna. Had a trading post, cabin auto courts, cafe, curio store, Indian jewelry and handcrafts, even a Chevron Standard Oil Products gas station. Red roof building, large windows, service bay on the left, and 2 gas pump islands. Right in front, it's very unique. Red Chevron, there we go. Logo, signs, right here at the red fence there. This is our trading post, and the building was torn down in 1953 to make room for the 4-lane road. This area is called State Line Gap. And then Route 66 is all obliterated under Interstate 40, so there's no more Route 66 to look at, but I think we have one more thing to look at. It's sort of hard from Interstate 40, but this place is really, really great if you can make it. Make Chief great again. Anyway, this is called the Seven Devils Cave. And originally, this was the Seven Devils Cave Trading Post, created by Harry Indian Miller. He's known as Chief Crazy Thunder. So in 1926, he left his 2 guns trading post out in Arizona. He settled here in Manuelito, and he dug out this big hole here, kind of fake cave, in the sandstone cliffs to act as a little tourist attraction. He housed an animal zoo, and he built little cave dwellings inside there. Anyway, he remained here until his death in 1952. The trading post was named Chief Yellow Horse, and now it's Chief Yellow Horse III, after the owner, Juan Yellow Horse, in the 1960s. So we're headed up right on State Line here. And there's one more place to look at before we get into Arizona. And that will conclude our entire tour here of New Mexico, Route 66. It took us about 8 days. This is our last stop here at the border. It used to be called the State Line Trading Post, also called the State Line Station. It's not here anymore. We're right in front of the canopy on the shoulder up here, where you'll find it, owned by the brothers Leroy and Jake Atkinson. They leased the land from the Indian Miller of the Seven Devils Cave we just met. Included a trading post and a gas station, 2-story Spanish adobe, whitewashed with timber beam vigas at the roof lines. Sold curios, Indian jewelry. Also had a cafe. And like many others, the store was demolished when the roads were widened. So we don't have that today. This is mile 0. So we're right at state line, and right here in front of us, that was a state line archway on the New Mexico-Arizona state line. Used to be this huge arch hanging over the highway. And our side, it said, "You now leave New Mexico, come again." And the other direction, it said, "Welcome to New Mexico." And right on top was a United States US 66 shield. And up here at this trading post, that's just part of Arizona, so you'll have to join me in another video. You want to catch this wonderful trading post. It's called the Lupton Trading Post, Indian Arts and Crafts. Has kachina, jewelry, and souvenirs. The TP Trading Post, right here. Anyway, I'll cover that in our journey through Arizona on Route 66. There you go. Hey, thanks for watching all my videos. Have a great day. Bye.